for the roll call, and then also to ask Connie DeFord, our gracious parliamentarian, to just give you a brief overview of how we are going to proceed today with our new Robert's Rules of Order for virtual meetings. So roll call, please.
All right, I'll do roll call. Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
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 Anna McPherson.
Present.
Anna McPherson. Harry Johnston.
Present.
Gary Pierce.
I'm here.
Stephanie Kelly.
Here.
Andrea Pinsino. We'll come back to Sandy. Ann Cork.
Here.
Terry Hudson.
Present.
Diane Flugfelder.
Here.
Philip Hittman.
Here.
Sonia Tolbert will not be on the call. She's having an emergency. She's having surgery today. Janice Olney.
Here.
Leticia Vasek.
Here.
Dennis Bates.
Here.
Leon Wright.
I am here.
Audra Etzel.
I'm here.
Marie Moe. Marie. Okay. Helen Ingold. Helen.
Chris.
I'm here, but I don't know if you can.
Okay, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Gary
I had
Rossman?
to. I'm sorry. I put my phone. Mhm.
Terry Rosman. Terry.
Here.
Great. Renee Edwards.
Here.
Lisa Garcia.
Here.
Don Abramson.
Here.
Don. Right.
Here.
Scott Passy.
Here.
Angela Baines.
Here. Present.
Right. Bonnie Hilford has an excuse. She'll not be on. Jimmer Petrusma. Right. Catherine
He's
Richmond.
not his press. I'm here.
I'm sorry, Lana.
Yes, I see from Sandy, she was on earlier, but she sent a chat saying, how can I get my microphone to work?
Okay.
I'm going to take a little bit of liberty here for just a moment. I have a message from our friend Jimmer Petrusma in the Netherlands. And Jimmer has retired, so that he has asked that I read a quick message to you. He says, I have decided to step back from the board due to the fact that I am now a retired member and I cannot serve. He had not seen that particular article in the Constitution, and he sends his apologies. And he said, it has been a pleasure working with you all. I wish you success for the upcoming meeting, and I hope to see you all in Amsterdam. So you can send Jimmer here retirement wishes for him, but he will not be joining us today, even though I had invited him to attend.
Lana.
Okay, are we finished with roll call, Chris?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Connie, if you will just give us a brief overview of our Robert's Rules for today, please.
Thank you, Madam President. We had distributed 7 rules prior to the meeting. Because of the virtual aspect of the meeting, we just need to have a few different rules. And actually, I received information from one of the authors of Robert's Rules of Order, they have a new edition coming out in September, the 12th edition. And so they have provided information about some of the rules that would be a good idea that are in the new edition that we can use now. So I just want to quickly review them. All of your electronic devices, telephones, cell phones, any additional computers should be silenced during this meeting. You're responsible to maintain your internet and audio access, and I hope that those members that were having difficulty have resolved those issues. So we will determine that a quorum is present as determined by the audio roll call that was already done. And thereafter, the continued presence of a quorum will be determined by the online listing of participating members. So hopefully you will still be in front of the camera when we do that. In order to speak, an attendee will raise his or her hand to be recognized as president. So if you're familiar with Zoom, you already know this, but if you're not, if you click on the bottom where it says participants, and there are 40 of us, you will see on the right-hand side of your screen, and I'm not sure on a Mac where it shows up, but on my PC, it's on the right-hand side, and it shows all of the people that are on the call. And the next thing is that you would need to raise your hand in order to speak. And at the bottom of that listing on the right-hand side, you'll see raise hand. If you could all give that a try, let's raise our hands. And that's how you'll gain recognition. Just like in the meeting, Mary Johnson will be checking to see who wants to speak and providing information to our president. All of the microphones should be muted throughout the call unless you're speaking. There's a lot of background noise. I have traffic going by. Yesterday I was on a call and the street sweeper went by and it was very loud. So no, other ringing phones or whatever the case might be, it's very helpful if everyone who is not speaking would mute their microphones. And all you do to do that is go to that left-hand corner, as you were told, where that mute button is. And if it's green and kind of moving up and down like mine is now because I'm speaking, my microphone is not muted. You can also see on the list on the right of the participants whose microphones are muted. And it looks like just about everybody is. So that's great. The person in control does have the authority to mute microphones. So if there's some unwieldy background noise, I'm assuming that it will be able to be muted by Ms. Lee. Also, we're going to try to limit the time for speakers to 3 minutes. Normally under Roberts, you have 10 minutes twice. I really don't think any of us want to be meeting yet tomorrow. So the limitation is 3 minutes. And if someone needs a little longer, it's just a matter of asking if there's any objection. And votes are going to be taken by a number of devices. If our microphones are open, it can be taken by voice. It probably will be taken by show of hands. If it's something where there's been some dissent and we want to make sure that we have a representative majority, the vote will probably be taken by roll call or by unanimous consent. And that is if the president said if there's no objection, these rules will be adopted. And if no one objects, raises their hand to speak, then they're adopted by unanimous consent. It doesn't mean it has to be unanimous. It just means that no one has bothered to object to it. So we have all acquiesced to approval by that consent. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I will be on the call. If there's anything that comes up, I'll be happy to provide advice if necessary. But I think you're going to have a great meeting. You've probably been Zooming as much as I have. So although this is the first for IIMC board, many, many, many organizations are meeting in this manner. So have a great meeting.
Thank you very much, Connie. We appreciate all you do for our board. And just as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. So everything that we say and do here today will be recorded, and our other IIMC members will be able to view the meeting and in future. It will be posted to the IIMC website. Is that correct, Chris?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let us move forward with our consent agenda approval. I'm not going to read all of those things. I'm assuming you all have item 4A, B, and C. So if the,
Madam President, before
Yes.
you get there, could we get approval of the rules, please?
oh, I'm sorry, Connie.
Perhaps by unanimous consent?
Yes. Let us adopt the proposed online meeting standing rules. If there is no objection, they will be adopted by unanimous consent. I'm seeing no hands, so therefore these rules have been adopted. Thank you. Moving forward to the consent agenda, items 4A, the draft minutes, November 15th. Unless there is an objection or someone wishes to speak, we will also adopt those minutes by unanimous consent. There is a question by past President Kelly.
I had a question about the executive session minutes of November the 16th. The handout, were those emailed?
They were not emailed. They will be emailed after this meeting to the current board.
Okay,
There was supposed to be a handout, but
okay. So those can't be approved until after they've been read? Is that correct?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Stephanie, for bringing that to our attention. I missed it, obviously. So 4A, the minutes of the November 15th board meeting. Anyone have any other discussion, or those minutes will stand as approved? Okay, seeing none, those minutes are approved. Item 4B will be passed on at this time. Item 4C, the minutes of the November 16th, 2019 board meeting. Any discussion? Seeing no hands raised, then we will consider those minutes approved as well. Thank you. Next, it's a pleasure to introduce Mary Lynn Strada from the IIMC Foundation to give us a report.
Thank you, Madam President. IMC board members, staff, and guests, thank you for allowing us this time this morning to share the Foundation's activities on behalf of the Foundation Board. I am not sure if she's with us, but Board Secretary Colleen Nickel had indicated she was going to join as well. The Foundation Board will be meeting tomorrow via Zoom for our annual board meeting, and we're looking forward to taking care of some business. 2019 was a great year for the Foundation. We had a lot of success in fundraising. Things are not going so well this first quarter of the year, as we all know, with the COVID pandemic. The Foundation's corpus as of December 31, 2019 was $2,884,760. Of that amount, $2,155,985 was restricted funds, and $728,775 was in restricted. Did I say restricted? I meant unrestricted. $728,775 in restricted funds. As we all know, the interest earned on the corpus is what is used to fund the foundation's support of IIMC and its members' educational needs. Since the beginning of the year, as is the case, I think, with everybody, we have seen a negative change in our corpus balance. As of March 31, our investments totaled $2,539,062. Voluntary contributions the first quarter of the year are way down. In 2019, the foundation realized revenues in the amount of $184,209. From that, the major sources of income were voluntary contributions from members, sponsorships from IIMC, society donations, the silent auction, endowments, memorial tributes, raffles, conference t-shirts, and exhibit hall royalty. We all know that with the conference being canceled, which at this point I would like to thank all of you. I know that was an extremely difficult decision, but it was the right decision for the safety, I think, of all of our members. So I congratulate you for stepping up to the plate on that. It will have an impact, though, on the foundation. We are used to bringing in close to $30,000 at the conference through our various fundraising activities. So now more than ever, it's very important that we have the support of our members, this board, and we have had 2 of our corporate partners step up to the plate to assist us in fundraising. If you have not heard yet, MuniCode has agreed to match dollar for dollar between a couple of weeks ago and July 4th, up to $10,000, all contributions to the foundation. In addition to that, American Legal Publishing has agreed to match dollar for dollar from a couple of weeks ago to July 4th, all Hawaii raffle ticket sales. So if we can get people to give and to buy tickets between now and July 4th, we will have the opportunity to bring in $20,000 from these corporate donors, which we hope will make up the loss of revenue from the conference. So please, folks, help us spread the word. If you usually wait till the end of the year to give, please don't give now between now and July 4th. Buy your raffle tickets between now and July 4th. Cannot stress how important that is to the foundation at this time. We all know that when cities go under budget cuts, the first thing that typically goes is travel and training. And our members are going to need this help now more than ever. So I look forward to seeing everybody's generosity. Where did the money go in 2019? Well, our operating expenses as a board were only $23,481. Our contributions to IMC in 2019 were educational funds of $51,479, restricted CMC and MMC scholarships of $10,000, unrestricted $2,800, distance learning $800. In April of this year, we approved 9 more $400 CMC and MMC scholarships. And we also, the foundation funded all 120 online learning scholarship applications through the 2019 application process. What is very important to know is that the board of directors voted unanimously to authorize the carryover of 2019-2020 and 2020-2021 scholarships that have been awarded should those events be canceled. We don't want our members to lose out on the opportunity to take advantage of these scholarship funds. So I thought that was a wise decision by our board and will be of benefit to our members. We have a new fundraising application. It's called Roundup. You can go to the App Store and download the app and sign up. And when you make a purchase, you can round up to the next dollar, and the foundation will realize the benefits from that. So I encourage you all to do that. Last year was the first year of the Foundation Development Committee, which was chaired by Vinnie Budiglieri. They were a very busy committee. We are very happy with the progress they have made The Development Committee serves as an avenue for us to engage members to help educate members, other members about the foundation, what it does, what its function is, how we raise money, how people can be in support. And we also use it as a training ground and a springboard for incoming foundation board members. And we're very excited that 2 of the people who are being recommended to come on the foundation board from the nominating committee are coming from the development committee. So we think it's working, and we're very excited about that. Donor recognition awards, the board has voted on that. Our 2020 donor recognition awards will be as follows. Our individual donor award goes to Catherine Dornan of Michigan. The individual association award goes to Wisconsin Clerks and Treasurers and Finance Officers Association. Our corporate award goes to Laserfish Document Imaging. Our individual step-up award goes to Andrew Pavlica. Our association step-up award goes to the Municipal Clerks Association of New Jersey. We remember the $10,000 they gave last year. The corporate step-up award goes to On Base by Highland. And after many, many, many years of dedicated service to the foundation board as a member and president, Dale Barstow is retiring from the board, and he will be our Hall of Honor inductee for the year. And I can't think of anybody that would be more deserving of that honor. I would be remiss if I did not mention the passing of IMC past president and longtime foundation board member Helen Kawagoe. Her generosity through the years has been exemplary, and she will always have a special place in our hearts. The foundation board thanks the IMC board for its efforts to encourage members' support through all regions. We do still need representatives from regions 1 and 10 on the development committee. So if you region directors could recruit some members for us to be on that, we would love to have them. I would like to express my personal thanks to the IMC Foundation board members who utilize their own time and their own travel, absorb their own travel expenses in order to serve on this board. And I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mary Lynn, for an excellent report. And to all those people who have gone the extra mile to step up for the foundation, our vendors, and also many of our members. So we need to buy tickets, and we need to remember that the foundation is going to need our help. Just as in our cities, we're looking to find ways to cut budgets and still do all the things that we do. So please remember the foundation this year in your giving. If anyone has any questions for Mary Lynn or comments, please raise your hands and we'll do our best to accommodate you.
Madam President, I had a comment. I was on the phone yesterday with Rich Fryer from American Legal Publishing, and we were talking about the Hawaii raffle, which is still going on. And if everything works out okay, he's going to drive up here to Westerville on July 7th, and we're going to have a little ceremony and picture-taking opportunity for the drawing. So just wanted to let you all know that we've been in contact, and that's the plan.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mary. Mary Lynn, anything else you need from IMC board?
Just your continued support, and maybe move your support from the end of the year to between now and July 4th. It will make a huge difference for us.
Yes, it will. Thank you very much. And I look
Thank you.
forward to seeing all of our foundation members in November.
Thank you, Madam President and IMC board. I am logging off, and y'all have a wonderful meeting.
Thank you, Mary Lynn. All right, moving on, we're going to item number 6, our Executive Director update. Mr. Shelby?
Thank you, Madam President, and good morning again. Just want to start out by saying on behalf of staff, we thank you for your trust and confidence in us as we work through this COVID pandemic. We very much appreciate it. My full report's in the agenda, as is every department's report. For the sake of brevity, I'm going to provide you with summaries in these areas: staff and the COVID, staff and department overview and update, finance and the IMC headquarters regarding the tenants, the 2020 conference. At the end of my report, we have 3 recommendations that need board approval. And then and then lastly, an update on the 2020 constitutional amendment that was to be discussed at the conference. Beginning with the staff update and telecommuting, March 18th was staff's last day in the office. They began working remotely from home and were scheduled to return on Monday, May 18th, as of this writing. We are now looking at returning on June 1st. However, Los Angeles County is saying it will be more like July based on data-driven information. So we're still up in the air. However, when we do return, we'll have procedures in place regarding social distancing, sanitizing of office equipment and touch points, what to do with breaks, food, and other protocols. We'll also be on a staggered work shift with no more than 5 people in the office on any given day. Right now, I come in daily, and then we have alternate schedules for staff to come in Monday through Friday. The process is working fine with no more than, as I said, 2 staff members scheduled come in at headquarters weekly for several hours daily to continue their work. We remain productive in meeting members' needs and providing education programs while working remotely. We are actually using the board-approved communications crisis plan, and that's working very well. However, telecommuting will not be the new full-time normal for IMC in the future. We may employ some aspects of it into our routine from time to time, depending on the benefits for both the organization and staff. We have 10 full-time staff and 6 independent contractors. On March 8th, we hired Karen Lee, who's doing a wonderful job hosting our Zoom meetings and handling our social media. We hired her as our communications coordinator, and she's been trying to indoctrinate herself to IMC, especially having to work remotely the first few months. Dr. Long, IMC's Director of Professional Development, who's an independent contractor based in Chicago, will no longer be with us after this month. This was a conversation we had at the mid-year meeting last year during my evaluation and executive session. Dr. Long will continue to be an IMC-approved opinion dialogue facilitator since she has many dialogues set up with associations going into summer and, of course, depending on travel and other restrictions. We'll begin to prepare for this position and see what we can handle going into the 2021 budget year. It'll definitely be a discussion with the budget committee regarding personnel at that time. In terms of administrations, IMC staff continues to operate efficiently and productively. In terms of marketing and communications, as I mentioned, our communications coordinator has done an excellent job of jumping in and helping via social media to promote all things regarding professional development and member communications. Last week, we held a virtual meeting to celebrate Municipal Clerks Week with approximately 25 members attending, including President McPherson. Our education department these past few months has been incredibly busy doing a wonderful job of communicating and working with our institute directors, promoting the institutes, creating webinars using sponsors and speakers, and has remained current with the certification review process and the distribution of certification plaques. They'll provide you with more information in their report. Membership department continues to reach out to members regarding customer service needs, dues renewals and cancellations, and 2020 conference information regarding refunds, moving funds into the 2021 conference budget. As of today, we're happy to let you know that we have 150 members who have opted to roll over their 2020 registration funds to 2021, which is just a great number this early. Membership packets are distributed in a timely manner as well. And the good news is right now, we've not seen an unusual pattern of cancellations or renewals since the pandemic hit. We remain with the status quo. In terms of finance, the fact that over the years we've adhered to existing policies and processes are indicative of IMC's healthy financial condition today. 2019 was the 12th consecutive year that IMC's bottom line was positive. Our board designated reserves are approximately $824,000, and our operating reserves are at $1.2 million, totaling to more than $2 million in reserves as of April. Strict observations to financial policies and spending over the years have enabled us to weather the COVID pandemic so far. We've also been exploring different scenarios regarding IMC's financial future. Without a conference this year, we will not have a surplus to add to the board designated reserves. However, we'll continue to work on increasing the fund with the goal of reaching $1 million. This conversation will be broached again during the budget meeting, hopefully this September. As of this report, we've not had our annual audit. The Budget Committee has accepted staff's recommendation to conduct a partial audit. That information is part of the Budget Committee's report in this agenda. St. Louis Conference. St. Louis would have been our 6th 4-day annual conference. At the time, we projected 600 paying delegates and 35 guests, and a loss of $215. We were confident, though, that that loss was going to turn into a positive. On Friday, April 10th, 2020, the board approved canceling the St. Louis Annual Conference. The board also approved holding the 2025 conference in St. Louis, Missouri. I just want to highlight, in special thanks to Sharon Osmick, who's our event planner. Due to strong negotiations in a cooperative hotel, IMC will not incur any penalties whatsoever with the hotel. No attrition on rooms, no food and beverage loss, and all deposits are in the process of being returned. We've also been able to negotiate all deposits incurred by the host committee to be returned to the committee. Although we're not going to make any revenue from the conference, we're also not out of pocket for the conference. And in relation to other nonprofits who've not been fortunate to do that, one of my colleagues' association is losing over $1 million because of cancellation penalties and lack of revenue. We continue to work with sponsors to salvage revenue. To date, we have 5 sponsors: Diligent, MCCI, American Legal, General Code, and MuniCode have agreed to revise their contracts to provide IMC with sponsorship dollars totaling between $40,000 and $50,000. So that's a bit of good news and a bit of revenue, something out of nothing in a sense. Regarding our headquarters building, right now all 3 offices are currently leased through 2021. Berger Law, Exact Staff, and Studio Pink. All tenants continue to pay on time, reducing IMC's monthly mortgage liability from approximately $4,800 to $500. In April, Studio Pink, which is a group of 6 ladies that sell cosmetics, notified us that they are suspending their business and asked for rent leniency. We offered to waive their April and May rent. We are unclear if they will return. Exact Staff has either laid off or furloughed the majority of their employees. We anticipate this will be short-lived, depending on when business returns. They are a staffing office, therefore they'll be in demand to hire workers in manufacturing and other areas once the economy resumes. Just a note to the board, if working remotely becomes standard for the future, tenants will require either no or less office space. So far, Exact Staff and Berger Law continue to pay rent. Since we're uncertain what the future will hold in commercial rental property, we have started to research the feasibility of refinancing our building, hoping to considerably reduce our monthly mortgage in case we begin to lose tenants outright. Once we have all our options regarding refinancing, we'll provide the Budget Committee with a full report for their review before we bring it to the board. Moving into next year, we're reviewing the possibility of not increasing rent as everyone tries to resume business normalcy, and as a sign of goodwill, since they're staying with us as much as possible. Any questions on my brief update? Thank you.
Last call for any questions or comments to Chris's update for us?
Madam
If
President, we have Dawn
Yes.
and Camilla.
All right. Dawn, please address.
Good morning, everyone. Madam President, Every heard you talking and she was nudging me. So she says hello this morning. Chris, I was having difficulty hearing you when you were giving an update on Dr. Long. There was some background noise. So my question is, where are you at with recruiting for the education director? This is an extremely important position for our organization.
Thank you, John. I realize that. And we were not going to recruit in 2020 at all. We were going to look for the position to be hired in 2021. The board was apprised that 2020 we were hiring a communications director. So initially, had we had the conference in St. Louis, this was going to be a major discussion with the institute directors because we wanted their input in terms of how they see that composite and that position filling. Right now, we are just trying to get through this, and then we'll start to take a look and again deal with the Education Advisory Group, which is comprised of 6 IDs, and then take it from there and see what we can do. Our first concern is that hopefully we have funding in 2021, and then the second part of that would be to go out and bring someone in. And I do want to stress that this is a position that needs to be in-house. Dr. Long worked remotely. There's just too much that goes on internally for someone to handle this position externally unless they've been with us for quite some time. So it is at the top of the list, Don. I understand its importance. And right now, we're just trying to get through this particular period and then kind of move on from there.
Thank you, Chris. Madam President, I understand where we're at with this pandemic, but because this is an extremely critical position for the IMC, I would like to recommend that the executive board work with Mr. Shelby on the recruitment process as soon as possible. And if we need to do that in the form of a motion, I'm prepared to make that.
I have a question on that. What do you mean work? In what regard?
I just think we need to move quickly as soon as we can on this position. I understand the position needs to be in-house. I do agree with that, but I don't really want us to prolong recruiting for this position any longer than we have to.
Okay, thank you, Don. I'm going to let Camilla speak, and then Sherry Pierce will speak after that. So Camilla?
Yes, I was going to say something similar that Don did. And so I will support what Don shared and just want to reiterate, I mean, the priority of our organization is our educational development. And so it is vital, and I just wanted to stress that as well and ask if there was some way we could move forward a little bit quicker than waiting till 2021. So thank you.
Thank you, Camilla. And now Sherry?
Thank you, Madam President. So the executive board members on here can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that during our last executive board meeting, that we talked about recruiting for this position and then hiring in early 2021. So Chris, I would really like to move forward with the recruiting process on it. If we're gonna hire in early 2021, which is I believe what we discussed, then it would be great to start that recruitment process as soon as possible, to start looking for that person.
We can do that, Sherry, and the members of the board, we already have a job description that we could look into, and if you have any ideas as to where you want to initiate recruitment other than the traditional areas, we can start that, and we'll also take a look at the budget and see what we have going as to a starting point or a launching point in 2021. So I can send the EC the job responsibilities, descriptions, the entire bit of materials regarding that position, and then we can work from there and go forward. And as I said, any recommendations as to where to start in terms of recruitment, we'll incorporate those with the traditional areas as well.
Madam President?
Yes.
I think that is what Don is asking, that maybe the executive board work with you, Chris, on that. And then maybe we can have an update to the board at mid-year.
Sure.
And I'm not going to put words in Don's mouth or in Camilla's, so I'll let them respond. But I think just moving forward with this, I believe that that's what Don and Camilla are asking, and hopefully the remainder of the board will support that.
That is correct. I don't know if you need it in a form of a motion or if it's just an understanding for a discussion.
Thank you. If you will hold on, Dawn, I have a few more hands here. So I believe, Catherine, you're next.
Thank you. It seems to me that it's more important to actually get the right person rather than a quick person, if you see what I mean. It is such an important role. You do need somebody who is absolutely the best fit for the job, and that may take some time. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate that. And I know that we're all aware of it. Those of us who have been around a few days know we've had some ups and downs with prior directors of education. But I too have heard from several of our IIMC members about having a director of professional development, because we are a professional organization and we need someone, and hopefully that person will be found. So I understand that we may need to start looking now so that someone is available to come on at the beginning of 2021. So I'm fully aware of that. And I thank all of you, not only from the board, but also our IIMC members who have contacted me regarding when that is going to happen. I think Chris has lined that out, and I appreciate all of the comments. So Dawn, if you're willing to make that motion, or you think it's necessary, that's entirely up to you. Thank you.
Madam President, I believe Camilla raised her hand again.
Okay. I'm sorry, Camilla. Go ahead.
No, thank you. I was going to follow up on Catherine. My interest is not to do expeditiously. My interest is, it took us 2 years to find the right person for a city manager. Sometimes it may take a longer time. So the sooner we begin the process, we can get it moving and going instead of just sitting here not doing anything. And I think that would be a concern of many of our members that have expressed to me interest in what is going to happen with that position. So not that we're doing it expeditiously, but the sooner we begin the process, we determine where the executive board and Mr. Shelby can determine where we are and start moving it forward at least. So thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands on my end, so I will refer.
Scott Passy has his hand up.
I'm sorry.
Scott has his hand up, and those who have already spoken should take their hands down until they're ready to speak again.
Thank you, Connie. My apologies to you, Scott. Go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, I had to step away. I just was wondering what the motion was. Thank you.
We don't have a motion on the floor at this time. Okay. Everyone that has spoken, Janice, Ami.
Tell her she needs to
Janice, were you wanting to speak?
unmute yourself, Janice.
Sorry. My question is regarding the budget. Do we currently have funds budgeted, or is that something we're having to wait until the 2021 budget year?
We will not start to work on the 2021 budget until after the second quarter concludes at the end of June, mid-July. So right now, going into 2021, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, especially with not having a conference and not having a surplus. But we'll work through it and see what we said. And I appreciate the comments about it's more important to start the process and get the right person on board than to start the process and just get anybody on board. So it'll take some time, but we'll watch through it. And I don't know the budget till we get to it.
Thank you, Chris. Janice Bates?
Thank you, Madam President. I guess my main question is, what was the rationale in waiting to even begin this process in 21? I mean, if we knew she was leaving, if we knew she was leaving, why would we wait until 2021 to even begin? Thank you.
Janice, because we didn't have the budget in 2020 to pick it up. And it was going to be a full-time position. Jane was an independent contractor, so it was a lot less money than a full-time individual. We just couldn't take her salary as an independent contractor and add it to a full-time salary. That's why 2021. Plus, we hired a communications coordinator as well.
That's understandable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Angela?
To you, Madam President, to the Executive Director, I'm just wondering if you can give a little bit, because you're saying you're not funded for 2020, have you looked at what potential revenue we're going to be receiving through membership this year that would be able to accommodate that position? Or I'm just wondering, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't see, as we're all in business resumption right now for the next 3 months at least, I don't see that this is a high priority at this time, and I would be looking to take direction from the Executive Director.
Angela, it wasn't budgeted for 2020 for 2 reasons: the hiring of a communications coordinator, and in terms of projecting where IMC will be at the end of 2020, we're actually thinking IMC will be okay at the end of 2020, not by a lot, but just by a little, because again, no conference income coming in. 2021, we won't know until we get into it. So I think we can start the process and start to evaluate and look at what we want in that position and continue to move forward and see what ends up happening.
All right, Mary, are we seeing any other hands? I'm not on my.
No.
Okay. All right. Anyone else before I refer this back to Dawn? Okay, Dawn?
Yes, Madam President, I would like to move that we direct our Executive Director, Mr. Shelby, to work with the Executive Board to start the recruitment for the recruitment process for an education director, and to report back to this board at our mid-year meeting in November.
Thank you, Dawn. Is there a second on that motion?
Second, Madam President.
Thank you, Camilla. And if you would please, by raising your hand so that we will have a vote on this if there's not any further discussion. All those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed? The motion has carried. Thank you all for your comments, and Chris, thank you for the background information on all of this. Okay, Chris, I believe you have some other things on the floor with your recommendation.
Yes, thank you. We have 3 recommendations that need board approval. The first one is we would like the board to formally approve the adoption of the 2020-2023 strategic plan. It is on the agenda on page 23. Staff has already begun working on this plan. This was the plan that was formalized and concluded at the November 2019 mid-year meeting. So we just need formal approval, please.
Thank you. Would someone like to make that motion for us, please?
Madam President, this is Stephanie. I would like to move approval of the strategic plan as provided in the agenda.
Thank you, Stephanie. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Janice.
Helmy.
Thank you. Thank you, Janice. Sorry. Is there any discussion? If not, then I will ask that you all raise your hand.
You have, Madam President, you have Camilla, who had her hand up you took the vote?
May I ask one question? After reviewing this plan, and it's a good plan, but a thought came up during the review of it. Have we reached out to attempt to involve our institutes at all in the communications part and help promote the strategic outline?
We have not, Camilla, but that's, I mean, once the board approves this, we can certainly send them the plan to all the institute directors and see, you know, where they would like to join in terms of the communications aspect of it.
Okay. I'm just thinking that's an extra arm or an extra networking opportunity to encourage them and let them know about this plan and attempt to engage them if possible.
The plan was going to go to them, but now we'll just ask them for their help as well. So yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You do need a motion on that. I think that since we're being recorded and it's here for the record, that we will go ahead, and Chris, you'll just forward that for us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Madam President, I believe Catherine has a comment. She has her hand up anyway.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, the strategic plan goes from 2020 to 2023. Is there, or should I say, are there plans to actually have interim updates, tweakings along the way to 2023, or are we going to have to do a full blast again, as it were?
No, Catherine, the board will get updated on the plan every mid-year meeting. We provide the plan as part of the agenda with updates on every objective and goal. And then as we get closer to the conclusion of the plan, depending on how much we've accomplished, we'll start the process over again.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Those of you who have spoken, if you would take your hand down, it would be appreciated. Angela, did you wish to comment on the plan? Okay, I see. Nope, she's gone. All right, any other discussion? Okay. And a motion was made and seconded. So if there's no further discussion, would you please raise your hand if you approve the motion? Any opposed?
Madam President, perhaps if you asked hands down before you took the vote.
Thank you, Connie.
Those against?
All right. All right. So we have any hands now, those opposed? Seeing none, the motion has carried. Thank you very much, and thank you for your patience. All right, number 2, Chris.
Thank you. The Legislative Committee. During the February Executive Committee meeting at headquarters, the Executive Committee and staff did a sunset review of committees and determined that the Legislative Committee may have run its course. We contacted the chair for this committee, Randy Joel, and she proposed to disband the committee. There's been little involvement from the members, and the flow of information from government entities to the membership lacks immediacy. Management also agrees with this recommendation, and to disband a committee, we need the board approval on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. This was discussed, and this committee has not been very active. Most of us have state legislature that comes, and we get daily emails from our states when things are being active. So would someone like to make the motion to disband the Legislative Committee?
Madam President, I move to disband the Legislative Committee.
Thank you, Dawn. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? If you would please raise your hands, all those who approve. Hands down. Anyone opposed? Okay. I would just see.
Madam President, you may wish to take this vote again.
I'm sorry, Connie.
You may wish to take this vote again. I think some of the hands were still up before the request was for those opposed.
Okay. Instead of raising your hand in your picture, if you would raise your hand in your participant list, all those in favor of disbanding the legislative committee. Okay, if you would take your hands down, please. Those who are not in favor of disbanding. Madam Parliamentarian, it looks to me like the motion has passed.
There was a majority in the affirmative. You're correct, Madam President.
Thank you. So the motion has carried. It's not to say that if this committee is needed in future, we cannot bring it back, but thank you, everyone. Chris?
Thank you. Number 3, this is either a new policy or an amendment to part of the Constitution that we need to create information verbiage that will allow board members to inform IMC headquarters and the board regarding their retirement or when a director moves from one municipality to another municipality. In the latter, IMC will require a letter from the new municipality to support that director's position on the board.
I will state there has been some discussion on both of these items during the past 6 months or so. I would be happy to entertain your thoughts. And as for me, I will state that I think this is something that needs to be referred to our policy committee to take a look at. But if anyone else would like to speak to this matter, please do. Is there anyone that would like to make a motion to refer this to our policy committee?
Madam President, look, Janice Alme and then Stephanie Kelly would like to make comments.
I was just going to make a motion or second a motion, one or the other.
I did have a question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Before the motion comes out. Is the purpose just to clarify that the board member is still eligible to serve in the region that they're in, or is there some other concern?
No, I think that's one of the concerns, that if someone moves, and it doesn't happen often, that municipality is aware of the commitment. And it's also that there's nowhere in the Constitution that specifically addresses a director in those areas. It's only under a member, and I think that was the confusion with Jimmer. He didn't see anything where a region director, his term would allow him to continue working. So I think we're just trying to make it a bit more clear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is my understanding of it as well. If you look at our Constitution, as Chris said, it does talk about, what type of membership that you have, but it does not refer back to Article 9, which is on page 8 of 10 of our Constitution, where it relates to whether or not a retired member could serve on the board or finish out a term, as well as members who might move from one city to another during their term. So just to make it clear and not to be questionable, we all have the best of intentions and think we understand, but there are always those things that crop up. So is there any further discussion before a motion? Refer it back to past President Kelly for that motion, please.
I would move that this matter be referred to the policy committee for review and recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Madam President.
Thank you, Janice Spates, on the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Take your hands down, please. And those opposed? Would you raise your hands, please, those who are opposed? Okay, Madam President, or Madam Parliamentarian Connie, looks to me like our motion has passed.
Yes, you are correct, and I still see one hand raised, but perhaps just a little bit longer on the hands down to make sure that everything is cleared before the negative vote is taken.
Thank you, Connie. Appreciate that. All right. Thank you, Chris. There was a lot of information in there.
Glenn,
And
I
now-
just have, I
Yes.
apologize. I have one more update on the Constitution.
Go ahead.
Okay, just to let you know that we did have an amendment going to the annual business meeting had we been in St. Louis. That amendment will now be moved to the 2021 conference. We'll start to promote it again as policy. Also want to let you know that the policy committee has also proposed an amendment that if the board approves, will also require an update to the Constitution as well. That's in the policy committee's report. So that's the update on the Constitution. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, board.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate all of that. All right. We will move on to item number 7, the Education Department report, which is on page 27 of your agenda.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, everyone. This is Ashley. I hope you're all doing well. Good meeting so far. Wanted to not so much go over the report today in detail. We've all had a chance to review it, but similar to what Chris did, we'll just touch on and highlight some of the main points and mainly changes that have taken place since this report was written. The biggest one to start with, obviously, is the 2020 conference with St. Louis. So we wanted to provide you with an update on the education program itself. We will be carrying over the entire 2021 or 2020 program into 2021, meaning all of the speakers that we have on the docket and have agreements with so far have all agreed to come back and travel with us to Grand Rapids in 2021. So we may have to make some changes, such as obviously the off-site program, and some speakers may not have gotten back to us as of right now. However, we're very encouraged by the fact that we can still offer the same Athenian dialogue books, we can still offer the same keynote speakers, academies, and everybody's been very willing to come back and work with us, very excited about that opportunity to do so. So as of right now, all of the speakers that we've paid deposits to have agreed to keep those deposits and apply them towards their 2021 fees. So that should help with the bottom line and budget come 2021 as well. We have been working to update the smartphone app. Obviously, we're not going to be using it for the conference this year. So instead of losing out on the money or not having any kind of use of that, so we've taken that IIMC smartphone app on your phone or your tablet, and we've transitioned it over into an online learning portal, essentially. So we've updated the calendar in there and kind of hidden everything for 2020. And we've put in there all the online learning opportunities, all the board meeting dates and times, just so the members have a spot where they can go and look for all of the virtual meetings, online opportunities, right then and there in the palm of their hand. We've also put in a section in there for live replay updates. As you guys have seen, since April 1st, we've offered quite a few online learning opportunities, webinars, online courses, things of that nature. So one of the benefits of having the technology and being able to do things now is that we can record those. So every webinar that we've offered has been recorded and is available for those to attend post live session. There's still assessments, there's still certificates being disseminated. So it's been very, very good. And this program, this app, has given us kind of a hub to keep all of that information in one place. So Madam President, if there's any questions about the conference or the smartphone app, I'm happy to take those. Otherwise, we can continue through the agenda.
Are there any questions from anyone regarding the report so far? And I have checked out the new conference app on my iPhone, and it's very interesting. So I encourage all of you to do that if you haven't already.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Moving on to committee work. One of the things that we wanted to highlight more so now than we do in the past is that the Education and Professional Development Committee has been busy, busy, busy. There are certain years where we don't use them at all, and then there are years where we overload them. This has been one of those years. An update on their biggest project thus far has been we have asked them to take a look at the education guidelines and the institute guidelines. It's been about 10, 11 years since these were really looked at as a whole, and we wanted to take a peek with fresh eyes and make sure that they're still relevant to today's education, today's professional development, and to the way that we're doing business and educating clerks today. So we've been working with this committee going on about 6 months now to break up those guidelines into piece by piece and take a look at the current lingo, take a look at the relevancy of pieces, and also to streamline these documents and combine them into one. So we're looking to take the institute guidelines and drop them into the education guidelines as just a subsection. There's a lot of duplicate information or repetitive information between the two that we felt it may be best if we streamlined and just had one set of education guidelines with the institutes being a part of those guidelines. So far the process has been going really, really well. We did stop in the end of March, beginning of April, when everybody went under the stay-at-home orders. So we haven't picked this project up in about 2 months, but we look forward to, once things slow down a little bit, picking this up, and hopefully in the next 12 to 18 months, we'll be able to deliver to the board a fresh copy of recommended education guidelines. Not real changes in there, just more so updates and streamlining, bringing things current. We also have been working with the committee on a new New York Institute proposal. Very excited. There is a recommendation, and I will ask for the board to take some action here in just a few moments. But the New York municipal clerks have been working for quite a while now without an institute. The last couple of years have been very rocky for them. They have had an institute, and then they have not gotten very good service. They haven't been promised or given the things that they were promised. So they're signing a new agreement that is pending, and you guys have seen the reports in there. So we look forward to having the discussion regarding the New York Institute. In this Education Professional Development Committee's work, they've also looked at Athenian dialogues for us. So, Madam President, I would like to ask if we want to take a look at the separate attachment that was sent out with the committee recommendations and look at the New York Institute proposal for recommendation and approval prior to moving on to the Athenian dialogues, if that's okay.
Okay. Are there any questions, or is there some discussion regarding what Ashley has presented thus far? If so, please raise your hand. All right, seeing none, go ahead, Ashley. Thank you.
Okay, so we should have a copy of the Education and Professional Development recommendations. There are 2 recommendations that you'll find in this document. The first one is in regards to the New York Institute. So typically, the Education Committee's approval or recommendation to approve the institutes usually goes into effect right away. However, this is a odd case because we are missing one very important piece in this New York Institute proposal. The proposal itself is beautiful and was one of the easiest proposal processes that I've ever gone through personally with a new institute. Very excited about it. However, because the college system has been shut down and certain state offices are shut down, they don't have the official contract signed on all the different levels that the state of New York requires. So what the committee has recommended based on staff's recommendation as well, and you'll see that in management's comments, is that we recommend approving the New York Institute proposal as is, contingent upon receiving the signed executed agreement that is still lacking in there. So we're looking for the board's blessing, and we're happy to answer any questions regarding that prior to that vote.
Okay. Yes, everyone is dealing with all of our schools and colleges and universities working from home, just like the rest of the world. Any further comments or questions for Ashley? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone that would propose a motion to adopt the recommendation for the New York Institute?
Madam President, as a board member liaison to this committee, I would really enthusiastically like to make the motion to approve the Institute proposal contingent upon receipt of the execute agreement required in the Institute guidelines.
I will support that motion.
Someone has some major background noise here. Thank you. You're pretty loud. All right.
I will
Don,
support that motion.
thank you, Leon. Don, thank you for that exciting motion, and a second by Mr. Leon Wright. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. And now you may take your hands down, please. Those opposed, raise your hands, please. Seeing none, the motion has carried. Thank you very much. Ashley, back to you.
Thank you, everyone. We will deliver that news to New York once this meeting concludes. They will be very excited. Just to point out too, we're also excited to report that this institute is set to take place in July. So our timing is perfect, but they also have the capability and the desire to put this 100% online should that need arise and should we not be able to gather come July. So we look forward to reporting back to the board of directors in November on how that program went and the status of the New York Institute at that time. Moving on to part 2 of those recommendations, we got, once everybody stopped being able to gather, dozens and dozens and dozens of calls and emails asking about conducting Athenian dialogues online. So we sent some thoughts over to the Education and Professional Development Committee for review, and the New York Institute proposal took about 5 minutes to make a recommendation. This one took about 55 minutes. So quite a bit more discussion here. We do have Dawn and Janice Bates, Region 5, who are involved in there as our board liaisons, and I would welcome them in just a few moments to deliver any feedback and viewpoints as well. We are looking to allow Athenian dialogues to be conducted online temporarily. And you'll see in the recommendations from the committee that they are also in support of this format, contingent upon us reevaluating it come the mid-year board meeting, and then also definitely by January of 2021. So the committee is recommending issuing a temporary approval to offer these dialogues via a conferencing software with video capabilities. They were very specific about that, such as Zoom or GoToMeeting. They would also like the facilitators and IIMC staff to work together to really make sure that these programs remain top-notch, high-quality programs. We want to make sure that the facilitator is, one, comfortable delivering this type of program. This wouldn't be something that we would mandate upon all facilitators. You now have to do this. This would simply be an option for those associations that are interested and those facilitators that are willing to conduct their programming in this manner. We would be working as staff, should this get approved, to work with each association to make sure that the software that they've selected is conducive to this type of programming. And we would also be working with the facilitators individually to make sure that their traditional learning tools or presentation style can be translated over. So we've also worked with Karen Lee, our communications coordinator, to put together, regardless of the outcome of this vote, a group for our Athenian Dialogue facilitators using our Facebook page. So we'll be inviting all of those Athenian facilitators to that group, in which they can share ideas, share materials, just network amongst one another in order to figure out how can we navigate through Athenian dialogues during this time. So right now, Madam President, if it's okay, I would like to open to Dawn or Janice Bates to see if there's anything else that they would like to add or any questions that they would like clarified prior to asking the board for a vote.
Okay. Dawn?
I really have nothing more to add. Ashley covered it very well. Unfortunately, I had to leave the phone call a little bit early for city business, But I know from California's perspective, some of our AD facilitators were excited to hear this may be an option for them. It doesn't work for everyone, however, and the key to me in this recommendation is it's a temporary fix, and it's up to the facilitator whether they want to use this during the interim. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dawn. Janice Bates?
I would agree with everything that's been said so far, Madam President. I mean, it was a lengthy discussion, and we threw out all kinds of various scenarios and situations that could happen. And so I think this is a good middle of the ground road for right now to meet our need. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I will open it up for discussion. I see that Catherine?
Yeah, thank you. As you know, Region 11 constitutes Europe and England and Wales. There are no opportunities for our members to participate in Athenian Dialogues unless they fly out to a conference and then pay an extra quite a lot of money. So I think this is a real opportunity for Athenian Dialogues via Zoom or Go Meetings or whatever it is, that may be of real interest across the pond. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Appreciate that perspective. Camilla?
Thank you, Madam President. For anyone who knows me, you know that this is a passion and a desire of mine that has grown into something that I never anticipated. I tell everyone I'm not a reader of books, but this program has grown me into the opportunity of increasing that ability and leadership and giving me an opportunity to mentor and work with other municipal clerks. I reached out when I saw the packet published to a number of individuals who have participated in dialogues that I have served as the facilitator for, and I received some feedback from them. I didn't ask or tell them anything. I just said, I'd like your opinion on it. And it was a mixture of opinions that were given to me. Because I didn't want to be so in the weeds about it that I wasn't seeing the rest of the picture. And so my first gut says, I just don't know how this is going to work. You're trying to engage and involve individuals. But the more I've thought about it, I think what it's going to take is more work from the facilitators to try to determine how to engage and involve people online. As we've sat here, we've had a couple of board members that have had to get up and leave and step back out and step back in, and that happens during a dialogue. But attempting to make sure that we're seeing these individuals, that we can determine that they're engaged in the process, I think is part of the purpose of the Athenian Dialogue. So I had a couple of questions, and one of them was, I'm not sure, it would have been nice to try to include a group of facilitators first. And I know Janice is a facilitator, I know Sandy is, but have you had a lot of input? And I guess this is to Ashley. Have y'all had a lot of input or engagement going out to facilitators and asking their opinions in the process? That's my first question.
We haven't so much taken that step to reach out to the facilitators, but we've gotten that in return. I have 5 facilitators that had to either cancel dialogues or those that didn't have anything scheduled, but associations had reached out to them and said, well, can you just do it online? Let's just take care of it. So the feedback that we've gotten hasn't been directed from us reaching out, but we do have 5 of them that are very, very willing, very much the driving force behind this request and behind this review.
Okay, thank you for that. Second of all, the question I had was about assistance from staff in making sure we had a program such as Zoom to assist us in the process, because it's a lot, as you can tell on just this meeting. If you have the max of participants of 30 people, and you're sitting here attempting to see 30 faces and to pull involvement and engagement, that's quite a bit to do. And I appreciate the opportunity for it to be the facilitator's decision of how to handle it and what to do with it. Can it be done? Yes. I did have one issue last year in January in Atlanta, where I literally had another person sitting at the table, had to tell the other side of the room, when are you people going to get engaged? Because they weren't knowledgeable on what a dialogue is all about. So I don't know if we develop some language or something to try to encourage individuals to truly understand, just because you're not in person, we still expect that same involvement and engagement in an opinion dialogue. That is really the concern of mine as a facilitator. I appreciate the reference to it being a temporary fix and checking back in on the matter at mid-year in January 21. So I strongly encourage, if we move forward with this, that we continue to keep these deadline dates and keep an eye on what is going on and taking place with Athenian Dialogue. And second of all, that we ways of getting facilitators together so we can talk through the process and determine what's working best. Thank you.
Thank you, Camilla. Some of what Camilla said had also been raised to me, that why weren't the facilitators engaged in this conversation from the get-go, since they're the ones that actually do it. So moving forward, if the committee would take that into consideration and ask the people that this is going to directly affect, at least through an email or something of that, I think that it would give everyone a little bit better feeling and a sense of ease in what is being discussed, especially since they're the ones that are the facilitators. But good job, everyone. Is there any, I see a few other hands here. Mary Johnston, can you help me out, please?
Yes. Helen?
Helen Ingold, did you wish to comment?
I don't know, maybe she's having trouble with her microphone.
Okay. Janice Spates?
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to kind of maybe reassure Camilla, because as a facilitator myself, I really wanted to drive that conversation that the in-person engagement is just as important. And that's what, I know you have a lot of activities in yours. I show movies. And I think, like Ashley said, at first I was very hesitant, because I feel like being together and engaged in a group of those 30, 35 people is what's important. However, during the course of that conversation, I realized that this is kind of the way we need to go, or at least to help get our members some points and some education in this interim. And that's why it was so important for me, and as well as some of the others on that call, to give some checkpoints specifically at the mid-year and then again in January to see if we continue offering them this way. So just be reassured that I was trying to look out for us as facilitators, as one facilitator to another. So I was trying to look out.
Thank you, Janice. Right. Ann Quirk.
Thank you, Madam President. I think that the issue here then is the amount of people that you have in an Athenian dialogue. Perhaps we have to look at the fact that it's hard to see everyone and engage everyone when you're on Zoom. I've done town council meetings now that it's difficult sometimes. So my suggestion would be that you don't have more than maybe 15 people involved in an Athenian dialogue, so you actually can get that participation.
Thank you, Ann. Some very good points for the committee to consider. Helen Ingold, are you available to hear us and speak? Okay. Sherry Pierce?
Sorry, gonna unmute here. So I think, Madam President, I think that the key word here is temporary. So if, and again, it's been said that this isn't a mandate. It could be an option for the presenters. But again, the key word here is temporary. So I think this might could work. Again, when you have a large group of people, which we always seem to have with the Athenian dialogues, we have people that can't get into these classes. They're waiting, so they're always full. And I just think this could be a temporary thing, but I would not in any way support this to be the norm. Thanks.
Thank you. Audra Etzel.
Thank you, Madam President. I kind of agree with what Catherine said. This would be a good opportunity to try doing these online and see how that works for the members that maybe haven't been able to participate as a temporary try, and then reevaluating with the facilitators and seeing what kind of feedback they're getting from the participants. So that's my thoughts. Is I'm excited to see this go forward as a temporary solution.
Thank you, Audra. And in my chat section, I see Helen Ingold has made the comment, I agree with Catherine that I like that the opportunity to be extended by offering through Zoom as may stir interest. So thank you, Helen. If you have spoken, please take your hand down. And I believe Don Abrahamson.
Yes. And then Letty.
Camille, I'd just like to let you know that your concerns were shared with the committee, and then the amount of activity and hands-on work you do. We are struggling in California. We're offering our nuts and bolts workshop remotely. And so we are struggling to come up with a way, and we need to make it very clear to the participants that you have to physically be engaged the whole time, meaning your camera has to be on. They're going to be monitoring it, because the tendency sometimes is to take your camera off, walk away for an hour or two because you don't believe it's pertinent to you. So somehow I would hope the facilitators work with the education department to come up with a list of criteria that this is what you have to do to participate. Being hearing impaired, my perspective I shared with the committee is a little bit different. I can't participate in person because microphones usually are not used, so I cannot hear. Doing it via Zoom right now, I can absolutely participate. So I'm coming from a little bit different perspective.
Thank you, Dawn, and we appreciate that perspective coming from you as well as from Catherine, because we are looking at being more diverse, and all of you are contributing greatly to helping our organization grow in that respect. Mary, did you have someone else?
Letitia, I think, wanted to speak.
Thank you. Letitia?
Yes, thank you. I agree with Dawn and some of the other comments that have been made on this. In Texas, we too are struggling to have something, an alternative right now that can be utilized so that you can gain that not just the knowledge, but also the points you need for certification or recertification. In Texas, I will tell you that our director has already implemented a few Zoom Athenian dialogues where they will be receiving credit towards their certification by being involved and engaged. One of them, as a matter of fact, was only advertised for 2 days and it was filled. So I think this is right now, for the time being, the way to go. I'm glad that this is only temporary, because I too agree that right now we need to do something, and that it does need to be temporary, because when everything hopefully gets back to a new normal, we can get back to what we're used to. But this is an alternative right now that can be utilized.
Thank you, Letty. Terry Hudson?
Yes, I see this as a positive way to do things. We have a lot of clerks in our region, and in particular from Delaware, that comes from very small towns and do not have the opportunity to go to other areas to participate in these. I've had a lot of people outreach and ask questions how IIMC is going to handle these, and was hoping for these Zoom dialogues. And actually, we had had an informal conversation about it, but we're actually hoping that possibly we could increase the numbers of participants. I think that you see everybody's face, and I think personally it might be a better format versus sitting in a room, because often I know you haven't been able to really know who's talking or watch them as they talk. And I just think this is a good opportunity. If it doesn't work out, it certainly should be revisited, but I think it's worth a try.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate your comments. Those of you who have spoken, would you please take your hands down for us? Okay, Leon? Leon, did you wish to speak? You need to unmute your
Yes.
microphone.
Yes. I would just like to say, being in the atmosphere we're in right now, we all know these are unprecedented times. During unprecedented times, sometimes you have to come up with unprecedented measures. So, I mean, I think this is a good thing. I know my staff is engaging in the opportunity to engage in the online webcams. And to me, I've been I've been doing a lot of Zoom meetings. It's a little bit more personal, as she was just saying, sometimes than it is at a regular meeting, especially when you're sitting on a big conference and people are around the table. Sometimes you can't see or hear those people, exactly what they're saying. With the webcam, you can hear and see their faces when they're speaking, and you know exactly what they're saying, and I think sometimes you get a better feel from it. I mean, in regards to getting up, leaving, and walking off, you're going to have that in regards to whatever you do. I mean, you have to get up and go to the restroom, or you have to get up and do whatever. You don't want to sit here and watch. You don't want anybody to see you scratch your nose or whatever you need to do. But those are things that's going to happen in life. I mean, I think we don't know how long this is going to last. Hopefully, we'll have a vaccine soon. We don't know that. It may be a year, it may be longer. This could go on for longer than we had anticipated. So I think we need to come up with ways to do what we need to do now, being that we don't know how long we're going to have to do this.
Thank you, Leon. Appreciate your comment. I have a chat here from Diane Flugfelder. Says, Madam President, the discussion on the Zoom Athenians also reviewed the cost factor, and with an online program, the cost may be reduced in comparison to being in person. So something else to take into consideration. All right, Camilla Pittman.
Madam President, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for your input, because that makes me feel a whole lot better. Like I said, a lot of it was coming personally for me as a facilitator, and we'll just have to work on lesson plans. And it's a positive to know that it is being considered temporarily, that it is the choice of the facilitator, and that we will have the help from the staff in making sure we can move forward with these. So thank you for your input. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Camilla. All right, now I believe Ashley would like to have a motion on this. Is there someone who would like to make a motion?
I would make that motion. Someone read it.
Okay. The motion is on, let's see, well, it was in the management recommendation report for the temporary policy. So this would be to have a temporary policy for the Athenian dialogues to be done through Zoom or GoToMeeting, a social platform.
I would make that motion.
I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, if you would take your hands down, please. Those opposed, raise your hand, please. Seeing none, the motion has carried. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you. I will go ahead and pass on that information to all of the facilitators either later this afternoon or Monday. And I will also open up that Facebook group and provide the information to all the facilitators there. Rest assured that we as staff pre-approve every single Athenian dialogue that goes out anyways. So we'll work with each of the facilitators, make sure that they understand the technology requirements, the video requirements. So we'll go through each one and we'll be happy to report back at the midyear. Thank you for your approval. Madam President, are we okay to continue on or do we need a break? Okay.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. So we've been looking, continuing the conversation about taking learning virtually or online. Wanted to provide some statistics for you since the April 1st date when we really kicked it into high gear as a department. We started to get a lot of questions and we even ourselves started to go, okay, what is IIMC going to do? Everybody's going to look at IIMC for how to resume learning, how to take programs online. We're going to be the ones that people look to. So as a department, we collaborated and have created 13 new online learning opportunities since April 1st. So we've worked with our vendors, some conference speakers. We've collaborated with a couple of institute directors that are already offering online opportunities in order to share these with the members. So just to put this in perspective, from the 13 sessions that we advertised so far, we've had well over 4,000 registrations. So just to show the interest in online learning or the demand or both, 4,000 trackable registrations. A lot of these were free opportunities, which was great for our membership. We offered 3 creativity and innovation courses free from MindEdge Learning. We had 1,365 of those register in the last 30 days. So those are huge. They're free, but they're encouraging our members to explore the online learning opportunities and get creative and innovative in their offices. We're very excited about those. Captus Press, which is the organization that houses our IIMC-owned online courses, that has generated $12,000 since January 1st. So that's just revenue that comes back to IIMC after all of the expenses are taken out for Captus Press's hosting purposes. So online learning, we've been moving in the right direction as an organization, and this pandemic has just launched us forward even faster. So we as a department have really been working hard behind the scenes to provide opportunities to continue to help our members, to continue to get them certification credit, but also valuable education. In an attempt to do so, we've also really been focusing on the last month or so to work with our institute directors. We've worked very, very hard to come up with an opportunity to collaborate as a whole and get every institute director involved with IIMC to offer a virtual institute. So we're happy today to be able to report that over June and July, we're going to be partnering with, right now I have between 8 and 10 institute directors to offer a virtual institute. Now these are going to be 8 to 10 weekly webinars, one offered per week for 2 hours. They're going to be online video using Zoom, just like you guys are seeing here. And each one is going to be represented by a different institute director. So we have everybody from Wyoming Community College, Casper Community College there to Virginia, we have Mississippi, we have California has shown interest. We have quite a few of these institutes that have been really, really excited to pursue this opportunity. So this will be a first in history kind of program for IIMC. We've never been able to get all of our institutes or a chunk of them to collaborate together to provide learning to everybody. So we as a department are really, really excited to showcase this program and give everybody an opportunity to continue to attend institute level program coordinated by our institute directors and the opportunity to attend programs from other states. It hasn't crossed the borders yet, international. We haven't had any institute directors interested in regions 10 and 11. However, we will have people attending programs in Arizona from Mississippi and in New Jersey from New York. So we're very, very excited to see how this works out. The neat thing about this program is that IIMC's education department, we as a group have taken on all of the logistics, all the coordination of this. We'll be running the registration, we will be running the certificates, we'll be handling setting up assessments and helping the institute director do all of the work on the ground. The neat thing that we want to pass on is that the revenue generated, each session will be $50, just a small nominal fee. Each will earn 1 point, but all of that revenue generated from that program, we're going to send back to the institutes themselves. So we're going to cap these at about 100 people as of right now. So at 100 people and $50 per person, that institute's going to get a check from IIMC for approximately $5,000. We're going to take a small nominal fee to cover the expenses that are incurred with hosting the technology and the platforms that we need in order to issue the certificates. But all that money is going back to the institutes. So as a department and as an organization, we are really trying to show that we are supporting those institutes. We're putting this program out there. We're willing to help and we want to collaborate. So by the end of summer, we will have a much better idea of how this goes, how it was received. We anticipate selling out these webinars in a matter of minutes. That's the way that it's been with our other webinars and programs so far. So we really look forward to reporting back. If there's any questions, Madam President, I would love to take those at this time regarding the Online Institute. If not, I am happy to continue on with our report.
Thank you, Ashley. Does anyone have any questions thus far or comments for Ashley at this time? Dawn?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. Thank you to staff for getting this information out to us. I was actually approached by several of my members with concerns, and I had to hear from them first before I had the benefit of getting the email from staff. As you know, California has very unique laws. We have a lot of them. And there's some concerns in terms, is this just an interim solution? We don't want it to take away from our institutes, as all institutes are not participating in this, or institute directors. And my concern is really related to the technical aspect of the sessions being offered, because what may fit for California may not be applicable to all states. And then my next question is, I sit on the education committee as a board liaison, and this was not presented to them for discussion.
Understood, Dawn. I can address all of those questions. In terms of hearing it from other individuals or members first, IIMC staff didn't announce this to anybody other than the institute directors. We weren't prepared to promise the membership anything, for one, if we couldn't deliver on it. And for two, we really wanted this to be institute director driven. So until we had the buy-in and until we had a set roster, we didn't release information to anybody. During our education and professional development call regarding New York and the Athenian Dialogues, that was the first time we had brought it up. So if there was discussion prior to, I can honestly, genuinely tell you that I don't know where it came from. It may have been that we were telling people that we're working on creating opportunities, which we always are. So if there's specifics, I'd be happy to answer those. In regards to the content of the program, there was a lot of discussion and a lot of concern from the institute directors on state-specific, country-specific. However, keeping in mind our annual conference education that IIMC delivers, there is nothing state-specific, country-specific, locality-specific in any education program that we offer for that reason. So this will continue to be the same. The education type, it has to be one at the MMC level, so the content is downward compatible whether you're working on your CMC or whether you're working on your MMC. But the topics themselves need to be generic enough to cover an international audience. So we've had these conversations in depth, and we are getting everything from crisis communication to business communication. We're getting diversity and inclusivity. I can actually pull up some of the other ones. Generational workplaces, meeting preparation, reflective leadership. So all topics that are very broad enough to cover an international audience. IIMC has never delivered state or location specific education for the reasons you stated. We really rely on the institutes themselves or the state associations to deliver that type of educational programming. We are not the best people to deliver that, which is why we do not hire speakers to offer those types of sessions. So these 8 to 10 sessions, whatever they turn out to be, will be very generic, similar to the topics that you see in webinars that are offered across the country or across the globe. So I hope that helps. Madam President, if there's any other questions, I'm happy to take those.
I'm watching for hands. Are there any other further comments? I will comment that I did receive some calls about this. The only thing further I might share with you as staff, Ashley, for all the people that you're working with and trying to bring these programs about, if you would involve possibly the board liaisons on the appropriate committees to at least give them a heads up so they're aware of what staff is working on. If you don't want to have enough to go directly to the committee at that time, at least consider involving the board liaisons to the respective committees that you would be working with. And that
Understood, Madam President. Can I get clarification on that? IIMC does not typically run every single online opportunity by any committee in particular. When we partner with a sponsor to offer a webinar or a speaker to offer a webinar, or when we partner with an institute to promote their webinar, we don't seek approval from a committee. Just to clarify and make sure that we understand, are you asking us to do that for any future opportunities that we deliver to the members or that we create for the members?
No, I wouldn't think so. But if you're reaching out to the IDs, it was just made a suggestion that if you're going to reach out to the IDs, that maybe you should contact the board liaisons as well. But no, I understand what you're doing with the online training.
Okay,
but
understood.
All right.
Thank
you,
for the
Ashley.
clarification. Yeah, thank you for the clarification.
All right.
Okay, moving on. We'll wrap up real quick. Just wanted. Oh,
I'm sorry.
Like Sherry and then Dawn had their hands up.
Okay, Sherry.
So I think, Ashley, that what she was saying is not related to just the regular online courses that you provide through IIMC, but those courses that are related to Institute. So if it has something to do with Institute, then I think that the Education Committee might be interested in that, because and I guess that it would be up to each institute regarding how they wanted to conduct them. I mean, as most of you know, from me speaking over the years, I support clerks actually being with each other and having that personal interaction, because I think that that's hugely important to what we do. And so everything becoming virtual, I don't agree with. Yes, it's easy. Yes, it might allow somebody to participate that can't get somewhere in person, but I still think it's important. And I think it should be up to each institute on how they want to run their program. I think, again, in the interim, that this is a solution for them, and I applaud that. But again, you know, I don't support it becoming the norm, and I don't support, I guess, I wouldn't support IIMC. I don't have another word for this, pushing this for the institutes to go to a total online platform. So that's just my comments. And again, as I understand it, it's something in the interim to help us get through this, and it would be up to the individual institutes, obviously, how they want to conduct those. So thanks. That's just my comments.
Thank you, Sherry. Janice Bates.
Thank you, Madam President. Going back to your comment of requesting that either the board or the board liaisons are aware of potential changes or items, going back to the idea of the Athenians being held on an online or a virtual platform, I had no idea prior to. I actually heard from 2 state associations rather than staff first. So I can understand the need or the desire to maybe loop either your liaisons or even the whole board that this is a possibility, that I heard from 2 state associations before I even heard from staff that this was a possibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Okay. Dawn?
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but Sherry took the words right out of my mouth, and I support what Sherry's saying. To staff, it was no intent, nothing negative, but when I get contacted from my institute director, and she knows that I'm on the education committee, and she's asking me questions, and I thought I was taken off guard because I didn't know what to say to her.
All right, I think that has, as Dawn said, we've beat that horse to death, and I think we're all on the same page now. It's a great program and a great opportunity, as Catherine had stated, as well as some of others. New diversity, a new way of doing things temporarily for now, because as clerks, we all like to see everybody face to face up front and give our hugs and chat. But you know, we're all learning new things here. So again, thank you for your patience and your understanding. And no further comment. Ashley, I'll give it back to you.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the clarification and apologize if there was any miscommunication on our part in terms of processes or protocols. And moving forward, we will do a better job at keeping everyone in the loop well before any ideas are flushed out. That way there are no surprises on anyone's end. So personally, I prefer to have an idea flushed out before I bring it to people, but I now understand that that is not always the best way to do things, and we will adjust as a department ourselves. The only other update that we have is regarding the colloquium. We will be offering the Institute Directors Colloquium for 2020 next Friday, and that will be from 9 a.m. to noon. You all received an invitation for that when the agenda and all the details were finalized. So I encourage you all to pop into that and make sure you register so you get the links. There are questions that we're asking all of the Institute Directors to fill out, as well as the education chairs or presidents, whoever pops on. That gives us some information to help tailor the conversation. So we are asking for information such as, how has your institute been affected with this pandemic? What are you doing in terms of moving your programming forward? Have you taken anything online? So we're going to take that information over the next couple of days and put it together, share it with everybody prior to, and then we're going to work on using Zoom's breakout room option to break institute directors and ed chairs up by region, and then even by groups of who's taken things online and who hasn't. That way we can collaborate those that need some help with those that have already done it. We have quite a few that are very proactive and have really adapted, and we have a lot of institute directors that are just at a standstill, frozen. So we really look forward to the conversation and helping people group together, work together to see how we can move the future of clerk education forward, not really knowing what that's going to look like over the next several months, several years. So we look forward to reporting back, sharing minutes. We will also be recording that meeting as well, so we can provide you with a replay link as well if anybody is interested in watching that meeting. The only other thing that is on our agenda to talk about is going to be the Education Task Force. So, Madam President, I would default to you and Executive Director Shelby if that is something that we want to address today, or if that is something that we would like to put off until the November board meeting.
Chris, I'll defer to you.
Actually, Lana, it's really what the board would like to do. It's I don't know if it's going to involve more detailed conversations, which might be prohibitive in a Zoom meeting and much better face-to-face, or if the report is pretty much self-explanatory and they want to go through the report and the recommendations. Up to the board.
Members, if you would like to discuss this at more length, if you would raise your hand, please. Or let's do it that way first. If you want to discuss it today, please raise your hand. Okay, if you will take your hands down. Those who would prefer to just discuss this at the mid-year board meeting, please raise your hands. Okay. All right. It appears that the majority of the board would prefer to discuss this in detail at the mid-year board meeting. Ms. Parliamentarian, is that correct?
Yes, it is. There were more than almost 4 times as many in favor of the November board meeting.
Okay. All right, then we will discuss this in more detail. I have, Dawn, did you have one last comment?
Yeah, I have a question. I have a number of questions. Is it appropriate for the board members to forward those questions to Chris so staff can be prepared to address them in November?
That would be my thought, that you could address your questions to the board, and then that way staff would have them and be able to respond at the mid-year board meeting. Is that your question? Did I respond correctly for what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay. So I would suggest that if the board does have questions concerning this, that you forward those to Chris, copy the board, or ask Chris to send those questions on, and then staff will address these at our November board meeting. Unless there's, I have one comment from Sherry.
Sorry, I have to remember to unmute. I'm not very good at this. So are we talking about the entire discussion on the education task force? Is that what we're?
Yeah.
Is that what we're? I'm sorry.
That's
Yes.
my understanding. Yes.
Okay, so when we get to like their final report, this is all going to be moved to the mid-year?
That
This
is
is-
what the board has requested. Yes.
Okay, yeah, and I'm with Dawn. I've got a lot of questions on this. So I guess who do we submit those to? You, to Ashley? Where do these go?
If you can send your questions to me, I'll make sure that staff gets them, and then I can copy the board on the questions if you like, or we can just answer them and have the discussion in November, whatever you prefer.
Okay, yeah. For me, there's a lot of clarification that I need here. So, okay, so forward them to you, Chris, then?
Yes, please.
All right, thanks.
Any further comment before we move on? Okay, as it was said, if you have questions regarding this, please forward them to Chris. He will share those with staff and with the board, and then those questions will be responded to and discussed at our mid-year board meeting. Thank you, everyone. Ashley, anything further from you?
No, Madam President, thank you for your time. Thank you for your recommendations, and thank you for your approvals on the various items.
All right. And our thanks to you as staff for working on all of these things during a pandemic. It is appreciated. All right. We next have number 8, our Region 11 report. There is no action required. Chris, do you have any comment?
No, other than we were working on the 2021 study abroad and symposium when things were delayed because of the situation. And right now, as we look at it, it is still going to be in Amsterdam. And we are still looking at having a day or two on the study abroad program in Bruges in Belgium. They're building it. It's just a matter of now trying to find the locations and dealing with hotel personnel that are in and out because of this. So in talking to Tom, Jimmer, and some of the other members in the Netherlands, we are still looking to hold it on September 2021, barring any other directives from the Netherlands in terms of travel and things of that nature. So it's still a go right now.
Thank you, Chris. It sounds really exciting, and I hope everyone is stashing their extra dollars away to go to the Netherlands. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting event. On the committee reports, unless someone has a comment, item number 9, subcategories on the committee reports A through I, there was no action required. So in the essence of time, unless someone raises their hand, I am going to move us on down to item number 10, Any questions or comments before we move down to item number 10? All right, seeing none, we will go to the committee reports. First one is on policy. That should be page 55. Chris, do you wish to address this?
I can talk regarding the comments and the recommendations. Thank
Okay.
you. The committee came up with 2 recommendations. The first one was regarding the executive director and the board's process regarding the renewal of an employment agreement. And it's pretty much stated in the report that it is the president, the budget chair, and a region director, a third-year region director appointed by the president, that will start the discussion. That shall be done no later than June 1st, so that we may have a full report, not only to the budget committee and the board at the mid-year meeting. That was their recommendation number 1, and we, management, agrees with that. The second recommendation had to do with honorary membership. Currently, the Constitution kind of keeps it so that you are a member, and then there's a category in there of not a member. And the committee decided that they'd much rather keep this strictly to members, past members, current members, that type of thing. So again, that's their recommendation. If the board approves that recommendation, that will require an amendment to the Constitution to change the membership category, to remove that one line regarding any individual in the Constitution. Those are the 2 recommendations, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. As you may recall, these were items that were also discussed at length at our mid-year meeting. And just to state one more time, I was surprised that all the years Chris has been the executive director, that there was not a policy in place. And now there is, so, or will be if you all approve this. And I think this is something that, as a professional organization, that needs to be there. And our budget and committee agreed with that as well. So if someone would like to make a motion to accept the recommendation.
I'll make that motion.
President, I make that motion.
Recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Dawn. And who wanted to make the second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. And if you would please raise your hands and approve the motion. All those in favor? Okay, and if you will take your hands down, please. Any opposed, please raise your hand. Seeing none, that motion has carried. On the second one, an individual who has made significant and exemplary contributions to be removed from the policy, which would make it read to reflect only municipal clerks. So would someone like to make that motion?
I'll move, Madam President, to approve that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Letty. A second by Mary Johnston. Any discussion? Okay, those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Thank you. And if you would take your hands down, please. Any opposed, please raise your hand. Okay. Seeing none opposed, the motion has carried. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, now moving on to number 11, which is our financials, and that is on page 61. All right, if everyone's found their page, Chris, Janet, and Connie, the money team, you're up.
Madam President, I believe
Yes.
Sherry Pierce is the board liaison to this committee. I didn't know if Sherry wanted to go through the report or at least discuss the recommendations before we get into it.
Okay,
I'm prepared to do that if you,
absolutely. Thank
if
you,
you
Sherry.
want. I can give it up if you guys want to just keep going. but
My apologies for not asking you first.
That's all right. Okay, I am the liaison to the Budget and Planning Committee. And I just want to take the time to thank Drew Pavlica because for chairing this committee. He did a wonderful, wonderful job this year. And Chris, hopefully you'll pass this along to him, how much we appreciated the work that he did.
Yeah.
And so Drew has provided his report. It's very thorough. I am just going to go over a few of, go to his summary, and then also point out the section where he addresses the review of the auditor's management letter and report, and the recommendation that the board forego its annual audit and have a review or compilation of the financial statements performed to achieve a saving of up to $7,000 in cost this year by doing so. This would not be an annual recommendation. However, just because of the current state of affairs, we feel that this savings will improve the bottom line financials for IIMC, and we've received clean audits for the past 10 years. So I just want to point that out, that we'll be not having a full audit for just this 1 year. And that's the recommendation of the Budget Committee. Just in summary, Drew points out that there was a $2,500 increase in the Executive Committee travel budget, incremental increases for the conference planner, the Region 11 consultant, 8 staff members, a salary for the communications coordinator who was hired in March 2020, and an increase in the executive director's salary over 3 years. We also discussed the registration fees for the 2020 annual conference, delegates and guests, and the executive committee decided against raising those registration fees for the 2020 conference, which was a good call. An increase was suggested to be postponed for consideration for the 2021 annual conference. It's IIMC's 75th anniversary, and possibly will be a 5-day conference. So we're going to have further discussion with the board on that. Drew points out that the projected 2020 budget income is $2,228,907, expenses $2,224,534, with an anticipated net profit of $4,373. The Budget and Planning Committee recommendations, before you, there were 6 recommendations from the committee. Those have been addressed. So recommendation number 1 from the Budget Committee, that has been addressed by the Policy Committee and was approved at the mid-year meeting. It's now policy. Recommendation number 2, management agrees with the committee's recommendation to accept the 2019 proposed budget. Recommendation number 3, the Policy Committee was given the charge to create a policy regarding the executive director contract negotiations, and that we'll have a report on that. Recommendation 4, management agrees with the committee's recommendation to adopt the 2020 budget. 5, IIMC did hire a full-time communications coordinator in March. And 6, management agrees with the committee's recommendation to forego the annual audit for review or compilation of the financial statements. So those are the 6 recommendations and management's comments on those. And as I said, we're going to have a report from the Policy Committee on recommendation number 3. So any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Sherry? I don't see any hands raised. Sherry, thank you very much. And
Okay. And
thanks
again,
to staff.
Drew did a wonderful job. His reports are very thorough. And so again, I just want to thank him for that.
Absolutely. Okay. As Chris said, everyone in IMC, from staff to the board to our clerks, everyone is doing their job, and IMC is staying in the profit margin, and that's awesome. So we appreciate that. All right. Any further comments before moving on to number 11, our financials? Okay. I don't see any hands, so if we will move to number 11, starting with the number A, which is the 2019 draft year-end budget, page 61. And I'm not sure who wants to lead that, Chris, you or Janet?
I will just ask you, Madam President, and the board that these fourth quarter notes were sent to the board previously, and they're in the agenda. I don't know how much time we have. We can go through them. I can have Janet do that, or if there are any questions, Connie Parker, our CPA, is also on the call. She can answer any questions regarding year end. That may be the best way to do it.
I agree. All right. If you have a question or a comment regarding the financials that are in the board packet, starting on page 61 and going through page 83, would you please raise your hand? If I don't see any hands raised, we will just go on through. So if there is a comment, please raise your hand. Okay, Madam Parliamentarian, I am not seeing any hands raised.
Nor do I, Madam President.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you very much to staff, especially to Chris, Janet, and Connie for these fourth quarter notes. And I'm sure we will get an awesome update when we are at the mid-year meeting in November. So in the essence of time, we will say that those stand, and we will move forward down to number 12, staff reports.
Again, Madam President and the board, these are FYI reports unless there is a specific question regarding communications or the membership department. I think they could be just accepted as is. There's no action required of these two reports.
Okay. One comment I would like to make is to again welcome Karen as our new communications person. She's done an excellent job helping me with my technology skills, which have a lot to be desired, but Karen has jumped right in, and when I see her in person, I'm going to owe her some hugs when we're past our 6-foot distancing. So does anyone else have any comments before we go forward? Please raise your hand.
Madam President, I wonder on the recommendations from the Budget Committee, are there any that need action by the board?
I saw these were in draft form. Chris, I'll defer to you on that. I didn't know if there was any action that needed to be taken on the financials.
My apologies. Yes, if we can go back to those, there are, Sherry read all 6 recommendations, and there are 4 out of the 6 that actually need board approval.
Okay.
Recommendation number 2, management to accept the 2019 proposed budget.
Okay. I had it marked and I just went right past it. I apologize.
Oh.
All right. So if I could get a motion, please, on recommendation number 2, which is on page 59 of your agenda.
Madam President, so moved.
Thank you, Dawn. Do we have a second?
Support.
Second.
Thank you, Leon. We have a second. So all those in favor of approving the recommendation to accept the 2019 proposed budget, please raise your hands. Whoa, look at you go. Thank you. If you would take your hands down. Are there any opposed? Please raise your hand. Thank you. The motion has carried to accept the 2019 proposed budget. Let's see.
Thank you.
Recommendation number 4 is to adopt the 2020 or the 2020 budget as it was presented. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you.
Seconded, Madam President.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving or adopting the,
Madam President, excuse me, who made the motion, please?
I did not see. Terry
Terry.
Hudson. Terry Hudson made the motion.
Thank you.
My apologies. Okay. All those in favor of adopting the 2020 budget as it was submitted previously, please raise your hand. Okay, and you may take your hands down. Are there
Madam
any?
Go ahead.
Those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, it appears the motion has carried. Sherry, did you have a comment?
Madam President, on recommendation number 3, Chris, does the board need to approve that? And I skipped over it because, and I'm sorry, I thought that we were gonna actually talk about the policy committee's recommendations, and we've already passed that. So does that need a motion, Chris, to accept their recommendation on that policy for the executive director contract negotiations?
The board just approved the policies recommendation, which the budget committee agrees with. So I think we approved it.
Okay,
Parliamentarian, do you have any further comments on our procedures? Are we good?
The policy was approved a little while ago under the policy committee recommendation.
Yes, that was my understanding. Okay. Any further comments? All right. And then recommendation number 6 is the committee's recommendation to forego the annual audit for review or compilation. So
moved.
Thank you, Janice. And we have a second.
Second.
Thank you. All right, so it has been moved and seconded to accept recommendation number 6 to forego the annual audit. Those in favor, would you please raise your hand? Okay, you may take your hands down. Thank you. Those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay. All right, the motion has carried. And well, I will reserve my comment to the end of the meeting. Okay, let's go forward. Membership, any comments on the membership? There's no action required, but does anyone have any comments? Camilla Pittman.
Yes, ma'am. May I ask one question in reference to the communications and membership? When we are looking at the Facebook and I notice items that are posted on Facebook on IMC, are those items being carried over or merged into the individual regional postings, or is that something as directors that we need to be doing ourselves? Just a general question.
Ashley, would you like to respond?
Madam President, I'm happy to do so, but I'd also like to give Karen, our communications coordinator, she has 100% taken over social media on my behalf, but on IMC's behalf as well. So traditionally, when I was handling the social media, we didn't automatically post things into the regional groups. The regional groups have been reserved for the members and then the board members to use on their own. We don't really engage too much in there. We just monitor for our social media policy. But typically, those are up to the members, what gets posted in there. But Karen, I would love to default to you to know if you have any intention of changing that or if we've had any discussion about that.
Thank you, Ashley. Karen, welcome. Comment, please.
Thank you. I do not have any intention of changing that. I would like to add, though, that the members that are in the regional groups do have access to the messages that are posted on the general page.
Okay. Thank you. It's good to have you on board.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
All right. As for membership, wow, you girls are always rocking it and making things happen. So Ms. Jan, is there a short comment you would like to make?
Thank you very much, Madam President. Right now, our membership sits at 14,659. Our member drive for 2019 is at 101, and the inactive to active is at 321, and that one started in 2017. I'd like to thank Camilla Pittman and Renee Edwards and Carrie Rosman for bringing in some new members for the member drive. Really appreciate that. For the region challenge, I guess they each won, because we had a tie, they each won a conference registration, which will be carried over to 2021. Business as usual in member services, our renewals are going out on time, and we are receiving much mail and online activity. The new member packets are still being sent out in a two-week period, so it is business as usual, and nothing has gone by the wayside, because we're still very busy. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Any comments for either Karen or Jan?
Madam President, Angela, you had your hand up. Did you have a comment or a question? Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mary. I didn't see that. All right. Communications. Karen, did you have anything further to add?
I have nothing further to add.
All right. Miss Jan, you or Tammy, anything further? Thank you.
Lana?
Yes.
I would just like to add, since the Zoom pandemic hit, membership department has come up with a great idea that once we can get Karen's involvement with it, that they will be connecting with members through Zoom regarding especially new members that have questions about membership applications, certification, things of that nature. We feel that perhaps a face-to-face visual meeting, or they could walk through the application process with them visually. I think that would be another value-added customer service. So I did want to point that out. It wasn't in the report, but it was one of the ideas that came out of the ladies in the department. Thank you.
That is an awesome report. Thank you, ladies. We appreciate that very much. And I know when I first met Karen online and she's helping me, it was like, oh, this is so good. So it definitely is going to give that personal touch to be able to see a new member's face and let them see you as well. So thank you very much. I appreciate the report, Chris. So I guess that brings us up to the annual conference updates.
Yep. Thank you. These are all verbal. 2021 will be a 5-day conference in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It will also be IMC's 75th anniversary. And we're staying at the Amway Hotel. The convention center is next door. It's a gorgeous property. Right now, we're trying to determine when we can hold a site visit. And it doesn't look like it's going to be before August. It could be pushed back to as late as September. One of the things about Grand Rapids that we are going to try to mix I need to throw out some ideas to incoming President Johnston and, of course, with current President McPherson, that because we missed out on an opening ceremony this year in St. Louis and people really weren't properly feted with the Quill Award, the President's Award, the Program in Excellence Award, the Athenian Fellows, that we're thinking with a little bit of logistical help that we might incorporate some of that in Michigan. I think that would be kind of a nice way to just, because it's sad to have these people win something as prestigious as a Quill and really not be having the opportunity to thank the group and everybody involved. So that's just some of the things that I think Grand Rapids will be a little bit different than past conferences. It's a bit fitting that it is the 75-year anniversary, so we plan on doing some special things. That's where we are right now in Grand Rapids. We'll start to promote Grand Rapids in August. So in the News Digest and e-briefings going forward will all be Grand Rapids. 2022 Little Rock is working very well. Contracts are signed and they've got a nice host committee and we're working with them on an as-needed basis right now. Minneapolis, all contracts are signed, and I found out this morning that the Minneapolis Clerks Association will be involved in that conference, and I will be dealing with Linda Rappy, who's their president, so we'll go back and forth and we'll work with the host clerk, Casey Carl, on that conference. Calgary is we have some issues with Calgary. It's really the same issues as they presented in the past, meaning that a lot of the fees that would get waived are tied into the rooms that are sold. And we can't get anyone there to work with us, negotiate with us in terms of waiving those things. I don't think they're going to be waived. I think right now we're looking at about $109,000 in fees and costs for rentals and so forth, which we usually do not have in most of our conference sites. However, we continue to work with the Calgary group, and a lot of them have been laid off, some have been furloughed, so it just depends on who's been in the office that can speak to us regarding that. We still don't have any support from the Alberta Association. Verbally, they said they would, but I have nothing in writing, nor do we know who the host clerk will be. So that's something that we will continue to slug through this summer and hopefully get a much better report to you by November. St. Louis, I'm happy to say, and I know they're very pleased that the board supported them and came back in 2025. Those contracts for 2025 are signed. And they are keeping the same rate that they promised us in 2020, which is unheard of. So goodwill all the way around with St. Louis. We couldn't have worked with a better group in the hotel, and the host committee was incredibly transparent and communicative with their thoughts and feelings regarding this. So I'm glad we're going in 2025, and I'm equally happy that all the costs will remain the same. And as I told you earlier, all the positives have been or were in the process of being refunded to IMC as well as the host committee. So that's all I have for the upcoming conferences. If somebody has questions, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Any comments from anyone? I will say I was on the tour with Chris and Ashley and Sharon Ozimak when we did St. Louis, and it was going to be an amazing venue and opportunity. So I hope I'm still around and tracking along in 2025 because I sure want to be there. And for those of you who already read Calamity Jane, well, you're just going to have to hang on to your hat and keep your boots polished. So thank you for the updates on all of that, Chris. We appreciate it. It was a really tough decision, but as we can all tell now, it was obviously the very right decision to make. So with that, I'm going to start with item number 14. Yes.
Janice has a comment.
I'm sorry, Janice? You need to turn your microphone on, hon.
We have too many hands and microphones. I was just wondering, we did discuss having the conference go to a 5-day. Has that been determined, or when will that be determined?
Janice, 2021 will be 5 days. We've approached 22, 23, 24, and 25 and added a day. But we also told the board that we would come back with a report after the Grand Rapids conference to see if they wanted to continue with a 5-day conference or go back to 4 days. So we've added them for future conferences with the intent of removing them if the board wished to go back to 4 days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments before we go to region director reports?
Madam President, I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
So Chris, this question is for you. You spoke about perhaps not being able to conduct your tour in Grand Rapids. My question is, could you possibly do that virtually?
Could we possibly do it virtual if we can't be there on site? Yes, we could do a lot of things virtual. The contracts are signed, so it's not a matter of renegotiating. That's all been taken care of. But as I said, even if we have to go on a site visit as late as September or October, we'll wait for that. But yes, Leticia, we could probably do a meeting to get things done. Sharon Osmick lives in Chicago. She could easily drive up and be there representing us from that point. As much as it helps to physically be there, we're just waiting and seeing on that one. But everything is set with Grand Rapids in terms of the hotel, but the site visit and the talking with the host committee would help us gain momentum in terms of the day of the all-conference event, where it's going to be held, what we're doing, contingency plans, things of that nature. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, let's start with region number 1. Who wants to go first?
Thank you, Madam President. Region number 1 has canceled their meeting twice. We tried to have it, then we tried to have it again, and we're still in the throes of the pandemic here. We have not, in Massachusetts, we're still at a plateau. We have not gone down. The same is true for most of the New England states. So we've tried a few times to put that together, but we had to cancel the IIMC Region 1 meeting. And for the first time in almost 50 years, the New England Municipal Clerks Institute and Academy has been canceled as well. It's a tough situation. The good news is that NEMC has worked with the people that do a lot of the classes and are working with them to put together some 2-day here and there classes that can be done online so that people can still work towards their CMC or MMC.
Okay. Thank you, Ann. We appreciate that. Did Sandra want to comment, or you're doing the report?
Is she on? I didn't see her.
She was on earlier, but I think she was having trouble with a microphone. So if we get her back, we will definitely let her speak. Okay, region number 2.
I can start.
All right, Terry, thank you.
Initially in Maryland, we were told that their annual state conference in Ocean City was canceled. But most recently, I have learned that the Maryland Municipal League Conference, which aligns with the Clerks Conference, will come together on 2 days, and it will be their first ever virtual summer conference. So they will not be able to go to Ocean City, Maryland this year, but they will be able to participate as we are today. Their president, Danielle Manley, will remain president. Maryland has also gone to 2-year terms, which works out well because their election is normally held at their annual conference. In Virginia, Unfortunately, their April annual election or institute was also canceled, though they managed to have a virtual meeting on April 23rd, at which time they elected new officers for the coming year. They are now under the leadership of Kina Thomas, who is the Chief of Staff, Clerk of Council in the city of Charlottesville. And Diane and I are in touch with her in regard to the January 2021 Region 2 Annual Conference scheduled for Virginia. It's been very difficult for them to make arrangements and reservations and so forth, because most venues remain closed and they have not found ways to make contact. So it has created a big void in their plans. They've also found out that many of the clerks, particularly in their state, they have not reached out beyond that, but many have had their travel budgets done away with completely for next year. So that's going to create some unfortunate circumstances as well. In Delaware, we attempted to start our institute, which would have been in March. We got one class in, and then of course, state of emergency declaration was announced. So that has been postponed until the fall, which actually most of our clerks favor, because most of our local elections are in April and May, so that will work out much better. We have new elections. We have a new president coming in this year, and Renee Bensley of Newark. I believe a lot of you know her. She's attended a lot of conferences. She will be installed as Delaware's new president at the June 18th quarterly meeting, which I anticipate at this point will also be held virtually. We have had nothing new from West Virginia, unfortunately. There continues to be some communication problems there, but Diane and I are working with them, attempting to work with them on that. Pennsylvania is Brenda Pree continues to be our main contact, and she remains very enthusiastic and anxious to find ways to get their clerks together on a state level and a new institute started. Unfortunately, I think this was put on hold. She had been working with Chris and Ashley, and I think if possibly Diane and I could get an update on that after this meeting in the next week or so, I'd appreciate it. She actually most recently contacted me this morning and is concerned and wants to move ahead. I think they still have problems with the contact that we had discussed, who was overseeing the institute previously. And let's see, I think that's it for me. Oh, lastly, based on a request from our meeting at our Region 2 in New Jersey this past January, IIMC provided a region-wide survey as to whether or not include actual years on our director's rotation agreement. And IIMC handled that for us. And even though only a small percentage responded, there was an overwhelming vote to favor the inclusion of dates on that contract. And that's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you, Terry.
Welcome.
It was a great report.
Thank
All right. Diane, did you have something to add?
Yeah, okay, it's working. We did have a successful Region 2 in January in Atlantic City. We had 98 participants receiving the New Jersey State certification as well as IMC. Our New Jersey State Conference was canceled in April. Thank you, Connie, you helped us out, but unfortunately we didn't have the session anyhow. And we did offer IMC CMC credits and our MMC credits. Since it was canceled, what I was able to do was went through the New Jersey League of Municipalities. We had a virtual webinar conference, and we were able to give back to the members We invited all of Region 2 to participate, and Ashley did bless us with credits for CMC, MMC, and we did have New Jersey as well as out-of-state Region 2 members participate, and we were able to have something of some nature and give back, and there was no cost to anyone for the webinar conference. So we're just doing the best we can and trying to think positive, little steps, but we're getting there. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Diane. Appreciate it. Okay, Region 3, Camilla.
Thank you, Madam President. The first thing I would like to ask is if everyone would please keep Sonia in your prayers. I just found out about her surgery yesterday. So please continue praying for her as she goes through this. We started in March. We got through the coronavirus on March the 13th with an Athenian dialogue in Concord, Durham, North Carolina, and Diane came down from Region 2, so we were excited to have her with us for that. But we sprayed Lysol and did what we needed to and got out of there, and we were fine. Region 3 had its annual conference in January in Orlando. FACC did a wonderful job, and we had one of our largest attendance. We had 150 participating attendees plus guests, and we were excited for that. Georgia Municipal Clerks held their annual conference in Jekyll Island in February, and I was excited to be there and to participate in that conference. The North Carolina County Clerks Association, they were scheduled for March. They have rescheduled for September in Concord, which is outside of Charlotte. Very excited about this one because it's either the first or one of the first times that they have invited a regional director to their meeting. And so I will be attending and presenting a session at that meeting, and they're working very hard to get more involvement from the North Carolina County Clerks. The Florida Association has canceled their conference, and at this time it is not being rescheduled. The North Carolina Association of Municipal Clerks are scheduled for August at Wrightsville Beach, and I just checked while we were on this call, and to my knowledge it is still moving forward at this time. We haven't heard otherwise. South Carolina MFOCTA, they did cancel their one-day seminar conference in April, but they are still planning on moving forward in October in North Augusta. Our plans were to meet with the presidents next week, our state presidents, so that we can have a conference with them and try to keep a little bit of normalcy with them, because normally we'd be meeting with our groups on Monday at the annual conference. And so the plans right now is to move forward with a Zoom meeting with them next week. Other than that, we just continue to keep everybody in our thoughts and prayers as we continue through a normal life of change for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Camilla. And we will be thinking of Sonia. I will check in with her next week. Region 4, Janice and Letty.
I'll start, Letty, if you don't mind. We are excited to announce that 2 Quill Award recipients come from Region 4. We had former Board of Director Barbara Blackford from Arkansas, which many of you know, as well as Marianne Hess from Mississippi. So we're just really excited for them and feel that it was very well deserved. We're excited as well that the IAMC annual conference will be returning to Region 4 in Little Rock, Arkansas in 2020. And this December, we will be holding our Region 4 meeting and training in Natchitoches, Louisiana. And so be watching for our newsletter and more information in that regards. Letty, I'll let you talk about our current Region 4.
Okay, so thank you, Dennis. So yes, I'm too excited about the 2 Quill awardees. I don't know if we've made history here by having 2 come from one region, but out of both of them, Barbara and Mary Hess. So we get a chance to email them. I did send an email out to everyone to please send them warm greetings and congratulations. As far as our Region 4 conference in December, I want to bring that up. We did hold that in December in San Antonio when I was still there with the city. of San Antonio, and it was sold out, so it was very successful. We had 2 Athenian dialogues that were filled, and we also hosted on a Saturday morning a records and archives session, and that too was pretty full. Our mayor was there to deliver a welcome to everyone. With regards to our incoming region member, we will have our new incoming region member for Region 4 that will be replacing Janice, and who I'm going to be very, very sad to see come on board, as Janice has done an amazing job as a Region 4 director. One other thing I wanted to note is most cities, I don't know about other regions, but most cities in Texas have moved their May elections to November due to the pandemic. And so I'm hopeful to see all of y'all in November.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of you in November as well. So moving on to Region 5, Janice and Leon.
I can go first, Leon, if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay. The OMCA annual conference and the Region 5 meeting in July has now been canceled. It took a long time for us to weigh out those options, kind of like IIMC, but we decided that it was ultimately in the best decision of our members and our region guests to cancel that. However, the board did decide to move everything and all of that programming into 2021. And that also included the extension of the current board terms. Whoever is a board member or an executive board member, their term is now extended for 1 year. And we're kind of just wiping out 2020 altogether. In Kentucky, Kathy Walker is the new president for the state association, but she is waiting formal swearing in because their conference was canceled, as well as Tennessee's annual conference, TAMCAR. Those are both in March, so those were both canceled. In Tennessee, they might be interested in hosting our next Region 4 or Region 5 meeting for 2021. If they are, Ohio will graciously let them do so. Otherwise, Ohio will be once again hosting. And I always send, and I believe Leon probably does as well, letters of congratulations for our members who have received their designations. That's all I have.
Thank you, Janice. Leon?
Okay, I spoke with the Michigan president a couple of days ago. As you know, everything here has been canceled. Michigan was pretty hard hit, just like California, especially the Detroit metro area, just hit really bad. So the state conference was canceled. That was scheduled for June, but they're trying to re-engage for the fall. That's what's on the schedule now. We will see what's coming. We don't know when we're going to be able to engage again because we're all on standby. But I have had conversation with the president. They are looking forward to next year's conference in Grand Rapids. They are gearing up. It looks like what's going to be a great conference. Hopefully we all get there. I know you all enjoy the city. It's a beautiful city, a beautiful place to facility to have a conference. Everyone is looking forward to seeing you. And other than that, I haven't heard from any other presidents other than the ones that Janice had mentioned. We did reach out to them, but we're going through some things now. I'm sure everyone else, and it's hard to get in touch with people not knowing whether they are in office or out of office. But we're all hopeful, and it's good seeing you guys today. So let's keep the faith. That's all I have to report.
Thank you, Leon. Region 6, Audra and Marie.
I don't know if Marie, are you planning on speaking also?
Yeah, I can take whatever you don't want to since this is your final hurrah.
Okay, if you don't mind, I'll go first then.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam President. We did hold a region meeting in January. It was in Stillwater, Minnesota. We had a nice attendance for our group. considering we're doing this in the middle of winter, we always appreciate those that do show up. So we did have that. We've had cancellations like everybody. Minnesota had to cancel their March conference where President McPherson was supposed to attend. So we were sad that you didn't make it and sad that we didn't get to hold that. And we also, the Iowa conference in April was canceled. The Minnesota May Institute has been canceled. And these items, as far as I know, aren't being rescheduled at this time. And I think Marie can touch on Wisconsin August conference when she's up. And I had spoke with Chris briefly through text this morning about the upcoming conference in Minnesota in 2023. The Minnesota Institute, or Minnesota, the MCFOA Minnesota Clerks Program is going to discuss the upcoming annual meeting that's supposed to come in 2023. They're looking for a little guidance on what they would like from our association. We did just release a newsletter. I sent that to Chris, and he'll, I assume, send that in his Friday update from our region. And last thing I would like to say is just take a moment and say thank you for the opportunity, the memories, and the friendships to have served on the board. And I hope you welcome Kay from Des Moines. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Madam President?
Yes.
My apologies for being a little late to the meeting this morning. And in addition to our January meeting in October, we also, the region hosted an Athenian. Camilla came up and did an Athenian in Hudson, Wisconsin for us, and we had a nice group there as well. Wisconsin just made the decision this last week to cancel their annual conference in August. And are looking at probably trying to do something virtual because we realize that we have a lot of new clerks there and members that need our education yet, and we have elections coming up yet that they're going to need training for. The Institute also is going all virtual this year, so there'll be a few changes in that regard as well. And I'd like to thank Audra for serving on the board with me in that. It's been a pleasure working with her and getting to know her better. And we certainly welcome Kay.
Thank you very much, Marie. Thank you, Audra. I had my thing on mute, so you didn't hear me thanking you, and I apologize. Region 7, Helen and Carrie. Helen, Carrie. Carrie, Helen, Region 7. It looks like you ladies have lost your microphones. Carrie, you're muted. Helen seems to be muted too. So if you could unmute, girls.
I'll try.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Okay, we're going to move past Region 7 while they work through technical difficulties. Moving on to Region 8, Renee and Lisa.
Thank you, Madam President. Most all the cities around the nation, the world, our institutes and academies have all been canceled too. Nebraska is actually having Zoom meetings for training for the clerks. We're going to have 6 trainings, one every week, so that the clerks can get their points. Our Region 8 meeting that was scheduled for this September in Park City, Utah has been postponed. So they're looking at continuing that in 2021. So they're working on that, and I believe all the speakers have agreed to wait a year and come back. So this is my last report. Like Audra, thank you so much. You guys have been awesome. I've enjoyed working with, being on the board and working with everybody, and we'll be thinking about you. So farewell.
Thank you, Renee. Lisa?
Trying to unmute. Thank you. I did want to add to Renee's report stating that a lot of the presidents from our regions, and we have two states, North Dakota, South Dakota, that do not have associations. And they're very interested in the Zoom education that IIMC is providing and the online. And there was lots of conversations with South Dakota and North Dakota about more members would possibly become part of IIMC, more clerks, because they would have educational opportunities that would be available for them. I believe it's South Dakota and North Dakota each have about less than 10 members from those states that belong to IIMC. So as we look beyond the pandemic and we look to the new normal, I hope that the members will continue to provide educational assistance to our rural areas through internet and understand, even though face-to-face communications are important, really providing service to people who don't have any is crucial as well. And if I can share my screen with you, would that be okay, Madam President?
Absolutely, Lisa, please.
It says the host has declined my screen sharing.
Oh, I apologize for that. I didn't see the prompt.
Well, I will not share my screen with you. What I will do is I will send everybody the Region 8 Task Force report after this meeting. It lists the members of our, is this appropriate time for me to talk about the Region 8 Task Force?
Yes.
What we have is we have all members are, all of the past directors have been invited to participate in the Region 8 Task Force, and all of the presidents were invited. We have all presidents that have agreed to participate in the areas that we have members only are Idaho, North Dakota, and South Dakota. But we continue to work with Idaho to have them come back and have their institute be part of IIMC. And I sent out to Chris and to Madam President maps that we've been considering since we've sent that map. We've had members on the task force ask for 3 or 4 additional maps to see different things. So we're well into the works. The task force has, it's really fun because we are engaging our members more than we ever have. We're having lots of conversations. I imagine we're going to be having monthly conversations, and hopefully we'll have our report back and our recommendations back by the November meeting.
Good job, Lisa, and to Renee. Thank you, ladies, for taking on, and Lisa's chairing this task force for Region 8. And I know this has been a discussion since I was a region director way back when. So we appreciate the time and the commitment that you have taken on with this. It'll be another learning experience for all of us. So. All right, I have a note here from Carrie in Clay Center. She and Helen are having technical difficulties. So Carrie would like me to tell you that Region 7 held their annual meeting in Kansas in March. There were 20 people attending and 17 attended the Athenian Dialogue. Kansas, as well as the other region members, are working on both online opportunities as well as trying to figure out our in-person options. Carrie says, thank you to everyone for being so welcoming when I came on the board to fill the unexpired term of Bobby Bush. I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you all better, work with you, and look forward to seeing you soon. And Helen Ingold says, thank you, Carrie, for your service. And we want to welcome to Janet Gray, who will be coming in from Illinois. So I would like to take just a minute and say a special thank you to Carrie as my fellow Kansas clerk and past CCMFOA Kansas president for answering my call when I said, hey, Kansas needs someone to step up on the board and take the seat at the table so Kansas isn't blank for our final turn at this for this year. And Carrie graciously accepted. So thank you, Carrie. I appreciate you stepping up for Kansas. All right, moving on to Region 9, Dawn and Scott.
I'd be happy to have Dawn go first if she'd like.
Thank you, Scott.
I defer to you, but I'll go first if you want me to. Like the rest of you, California is in various stages of phasing, getting back to semi-normal. I'm in a county that is still in lockdown, but I work in a county who's in phase 2, so it's a little interesting dichotomy here going on. LA County seems to be the hotspot for California, and like Chris said, they may be pushing their stay-at-home orders out through July. So, you know, we're seeing in California, a number of municipalities are facing severe budget cuts. Some are even looking at bankruptcy, looking at furloughs and staff layoffs. So it is pretty frightening here in California. Since we met in November, Scott and I traveled to Alaska for their conference. And as always, the Alaska group is very warm and welcoming. It was cold, but Every and I had fun playing in the snow. The California annual conference in April has been canceled, and so has the Oregon Municipal Recorders Conference in September, unfortunately. We're still waiting to see what our fate is for Alaska. We're certainly hoping that will move forward. And then I will say that California is trying innovative ways to offer educational offerings via Zoom. We have several vendors that have stepped up and sponsored some of our opening and general session speakers for California. We've been conducting those via Zoom with points, and it's been working fairly well. We've had to cap the number of attendees. We've actually had to close registration. And so we're just continuing to see what we can do to meet the members' needs in terms of education. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dawn. Scott?
Not much to add, really. Just we're all just, you know, responding to this, you know, COVID outbreak. And I don't know if you're aware, but the governors of the states on the West Coast have entered into a pact. And so our response and, you know, how we open and when and all the details of that, it's going to be a coordinated effort on the West Coast. So you won't see any one of our states really doing anything different from each other. But just hope everyone is safe and being careful, and we'll get through this.
Thank you, Scott. We appreciate it. All right. That brings us up to Region 10. Bonnie isn't here today, but we have Angela Baines.
Thank you, Madam President. Just wanted to give a little bit of an update. We in the province of British Columbia, one of the provinces in Canada, for those of you who are not familiar, have canceled quite a bit, as you can imagine, as you all have. We have an annual conference that we usually have for the Local Government Management Association, which is typically in June of every year. That was canceled and postponed to 2021. We do have currently our Clerks and Corporate Officers Forum, which typically runs in October. That is still on the books. We will see how we go with that. I can say that the Ontario AMTCO conference has also been canceled for 2020. Moving forward, we're still in a position of, we're not in lockdown, we're starting to resume business. The province has initiated a 4-phase resumption plan for business, province, government, pretty much every entity you can imagine. And currently we're in phase 2. So our doors will start opening up on June 1st for some of our programs. And then going into June, from June through to September, or July through to September, we're anticipating going into phase 3. And hopefully by the end of September, we're looking at business as usual with all doors open and all business resumption and everything back in place. So that's the plan. International travel is still banned for Canadians, unless you want to come back in quarantine for 14 days, which none of us are really wanting to do that. I will say that in this time, we are definitely facing challenges with collecting property taxes, which will then lead to programs for our clerks or education to be able to participate in, and funding for, you know, continued membership. So I just wanted to flag that for everyone. Other than that, I've enjoyed my first year, and anticipate that we'll all move forward in a good and positive way, and looking forward to hopefully seeing you all in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. And I wanted to say, even though Bonnie Hilford could not participate in the meeting today, she had sent me an email earlier asking about the board's comments that she had made at the mid-year meeting regarding the membership for the Canadian people being reduced as we had done for Region 11. And at that time, it was said that we would discuss that at the September 2020 budget meeting, because the 2020 budget had already been set and that would cause financial impact. But I have assured Bonnie that the board will continue to discuss that. And I know that incoming President Mary Johnston has this on her list of things to do, as do I, to follow up on. So you can let your fellow Canadians know we will be looking at the membership requests that Bonnie had talked about earlier. So, all right, moving to Region 11, Catherine.
Thank you. Well, much like the rest of the world, it's been quite a difficult time for us as well. A lot of us are still working from home, and I think we still will be for a little while yet. They're trying to pull us out of lockdown, but none of us are particularly keen and eager to go out, to be honest. Right, first of all, I'd like to formally record thanks to my former board director, Jimmer. I was expecting to see him today, but obviously he's had to step back. I would like to, my thanks to him for his advice, his support. He's been a great director, I think. Promotion of the Study Abroad Tour 2021. Hopefully things will be back to normal by then. And the symposium, I think it's going to be a fabulous event. So I would encourage everybody to take that offer up. I would like to thank all the board and the staff for their support and help over the past 3 years. It is my last meeting today as a board director, and in fact it's even more than that, because I retire from work on the 31st of May. So it's going to be quite a change after what has been a very busy time, and it's one heck of a time to retire. I haven't seen my staff now for about 7 or 8 weeks, so it's quite strange. I would also like to wish good luck to Sarah, who will be joining you at the next meeting. So thank you, everybody. I have made friends for life. Thank you. Take care, everybody out there. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, this is always the sad time of the board meeting, when we have region directors that have been with us for 3 years stepping off, but then it also gets exciting because we have new people coming on and making new friends. So I would like at this time to give a special thank you and a round of applause, and I wish we could make those little hands clap, but woohoo for everybody, as Dawn is saying, yes. Thank you to all of our board members for your commitment to this board and to IIMC, because we each bring a different perspective, as we have seen today, and that's what's needed. I mean, we're almost 15,000 people strong internationally, and I can't tell you what a blessing it has been to me in my career as a city clerk to have IIMC standing behind us. So a very special thank you to past President Stephanie Kelly, who sent a text that she had a mandatory department head meeting today and she had to leave the meeting. But I want to say to Stephanie, so maybe she will catch this up when she watches it on the recording, thank you for your help, your encouragement, your support, and especially your prayers when I stepped up to this position, because she had left me some big shoes to fill. She's quite a remarkable lady, and I really gained a friendship, and her mother was just, she's adorable. So those friendships last our lifetime, and what can I say? I would like to give a warm welcome to incoming Vice President Pamela Smith from Sanibel Island, Florida. So she will be sworn in at our meeting on May the 20th. And last but certainly not least, to incoming President Mary Johnston. And as I said, shaking her finger at me because she knows I'm getting emotional. It wasn't a year like I wanted to finish up, and I'm sure it isn't a year that Mary thought she would be starting without the fanfare. But you know what? The Clerk family, we rally together and we pull up our big girl panties and we just do what we have to do. And it's been quite the ride for me. And I know that I am leaving you all with Mary coming in, and then we have Sherry coming right behind her, and then Pamela Smith coming in, and all of our current and incoming board members. The support in IIMC is amazing, from staff to the members and especially to the board. And my goodness, what would we do without our dearly beloved Connie DeFord, our parliamentarian, and to Maria, who takes the minutes, and to all of our IIMC staff. Thank you so much for all you have done for me, for our board, but you're amazing. And I have truly been blessed to be your president this year. So when Mary takes that oath of office next Wednesday, please reach out and give her the big woohoo and an email, and hopefully we'll get to party, and I'll bring my sparkly red shoes, and I know that we'll do something special in November. So any other business or announcements from any of you? Mr. Chris, anything from you?
Just to let the incoming board that Monday morning we'll be sending a Zoom meeting with the links and information for the May 20th incoming board meeting. That'll go to the incoming board on Monday. That'll come from Karen. And just again, on behalf of staff, it's a pleasure serving you, and we appreciate all your support and confidence in us, especially during these difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Lana, can I?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. A huge, huge thank you and a huge hug for your leadership and guidance this past year. You've done an amazing job, and I know the board, current board and the incoming board appreciate all that you've done for all of your clerk family. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. Means a lot. But that's one thing about this organization. It's one for all and all for one. And the conferences that I was blessed to be able to attend, I was welcomed with open arms and lots of hugs and great treats. And I know that you will be, as will be those who follow after us. It's just amazing. And to each and every one of you, please stay safe, stay healthy, know you're loved. So any further comments before we adjourn? Seeing none, thank you to our awesome IIMC staff. We appreciate you. Goodbye and farewell until we meet again. May God go with you. Blessings.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
November.
Bye-bye, everyone. Be safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care.